Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight, the Friday night edition of The Big Show. We got a real treat for you tonight. The Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, will be here to talk remote viewing, monsters, and so much more. But the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you, and thank you for tuning us in. Kitty Caddywhack with the gold medal tonight, Eternity Eternal with the silver, Fast Hemi with the bronze medal tonight, as we say hello to Race Fan in fourth place. Little Cam on YouTube, hanging on out, curling the dumbbells, 65 pounds each. He's up to rep number 182. Yeah, forearms and biceps are jacked tonight. Road Flare, how are you? Robert Lamont, thanks for coming on in. T-Bone, my man, thank you for joining us, my friend. Necessary Dialogue. And Mel WD-40 is here. Mel WD-40 lubing us up for tonight's show because he knows, I know, and Jessica Jones knows you can't do a show about monsters without lube. So thank you, Mel, for lubing us up tonight. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, David Norenberg, Dragonfly, and Walking Lightly. Welcome all to the show tonight. Frankie B. and Paramarv, thank you for joining us. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Hi there, Cosmic Joe. Thank you for joining us. Flat 6, good to see you. Cryptidville, welcome to SOR Chat. So we continue on with roll call tonight. Deanna Ann is here. Deanna Ann will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Scrolling on down, we say hello to Kurt W75 and Flat 6 and Noble Patrick. Good to have you here as we continue on with our roll call. There's JSCO, Nico's Hauling. Welcome to SOR Chat. And who is next on our list? Fapperoony. Nice to have you here early for once. Good to you learn the schedule. Moving on down, we say hello to Walter Kochabinski. Lisa Smith is here. Lisa Smith will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Phineas, how are you? The Ferret, good to have you here. Glenn John McEnroe, the Pride of Wimbledon. J Truth Seeker. And Brooke Michelle, welcome to SOR Chat. Midwest Night Watchers, how are you? I think you've been here before. How you doing? Deborah Rooney, nice to see you. As we continue on with our roll call here, Angelique, hold on, let me get this one. All right, Angelique Balumani. I think I got that right. Balumani? Because there would be a little bit of French in there. Balumani. Balumani? Balumani? I think that might be it. I'm rusty on my French. Brooke Michelle, how are you? Michael, how are you doing? What is up? Oh, geez, this thing jumped on me. Hold on. Mike Rivers, good to see you. And where are we on time here? Lots of time. M. Love, welcome to SOR Chat. And who is next here? Amanda, nice to see you. Oh, it's Italian. Bellew. Did I pronounce it right? Hi, Melissa. How are you tonight? First name is French. Angelique. So proper pronunciation is Angelique. And then Belleumini? Maybe? I don't know. M. Love, welcome. We're caught up. Doc from Wyoming, where the hell have you been? Hold on, let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, and we're heading to the forests of Georgia and Alabama, where Jessica Jones is going to join us about her cryptid huntress ways throughout the monster hunting season. Sweet Robbie G, how are you? We are in roll call on our YouTube channel right now. So we're about 30 seconds from launching this bad boy. We're going to blow it up big tonight. Why not? It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Hey, I want to remind everybody the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Neighbor Danielle, how you doing? Tim and I were talking about you the other night. You need to call us. Get a hold of me. Dave at spacedoutradio.com. Here we go.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have an amazing show talking monsters and remote viewing tonight. The cryptid huntress herself, Jessica Jones, is here to break it all down for us. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off with another spooky story. We're going to follow that up with Extra Small, Lee Strauss, coming on in for the Q&A. And we're going to take a lot of audience questions during that time as well in hour 3. Slow it down, Dave. Make this show happen. All right. I love it when this lady is on our show. I do. Why? Because she's the cryptid huntress of all people. Jessica Jones is a paranormal investigator and remote viewer based in Northwest Georgia. She is an active field researcher and member of the Enigma Research Group, Georgia Cryptid Researchers Association, Anomalous Studies, and once upon a time, when she was just Jessica Jones, we changed her name to the Cryptid Huntress here on Spaced Out Radio when she was here. It is a moniker that stuck, and it is a moniker that has seen her take off like a shooting star throughout the cryptid universe. She is an absolute star of a researcher. She hits up conferences very much almost every weekend. Well, maybe not that much, but she deserves to. She is somebody who is not afraid to put her mouth where her legs are and go out and try and find those Bigfoot, those Dogman, those every cryptid creature that could be running around the forest near you. Let's bring her on in. You can find her YouTube channel at The Cryptid Huntress. Jessica Jones, it is always good to have you on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Hey, Dave. I'm so good. It feels so good to be back at Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for having me tonight.
Does it feel like coming home?
It does. It does. I was actually putting out the link on my social media today, and I added a song. Guess what song that was to all the posts? It starts
Little
with
Brother is Watching.
It was Bumblefoot. Yeah, it was my intro and extra songs. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I made a little note. I was like, y'all recognize this song, don't you? Yeah, I love it. Man, it feels so good to be back. It really does.
You know, it's hard to believe that it was just about maybe 3.5 years ago. You and I interviewed you for the first time and brought you on the show, and we had a very long talk after that show. A couple days later about what you wanted to do and everything. And I said, why don't you join our team? Why don't you come on over and let me show you some ropes here, see how you do. And I said, there's no commitment. Whenever you want to go off on your own and do your own thing, you just go and do it. And for 3 years, you graced our airwaves doing our thing before you got so busy with your own YouTube channel that you were able to grow that so well. You know, I think you're coming up on, 17,000 subscribers.
Oh, God, I wish. No, it's like, it's getting close to 14. It's like 13 something. It's a lot. Because I remember, Dave, before I came on your channel, I was actually over at KGRA, Digital Broadcasting. And I guess your audience, y'all heard Dave, right? You know, he invited me over here. This is kind of how my life has been with the podcasting world. It's like, I didn't ever expect to even have a podcast. I never even wanted to be public about this stuff. And in the first interview I did with Paula Asteria, a friend of mine, over at KGRA, right after that one, the producer came on and invited me over to do my own podcast there. And then it just snowballed, and Spaced Out Radio it just helped me to just take off. And it's not anything I ever planned, Dave, at all. But thanks to you, you taught me all the ropes. You taught me everything I know pretty much. So thank you, Dave. I'm grateful.
You took a little bit of what I said and you made it into your own. And I have to say, you know, you were somebody, and I'm going to brag about you here for a second, if you don't mind. Okay.
Go ahead.
You know, we have had some incredible hosts and podcasters on our channel all over the place. And, you know, I think of Sweet Robbie G, probably the best weekend host we've ever had. Grant Baker, another amazing host. Lee Strauss now. And I look at yourself and I think, wow, you know, the way all of you have embraced, you know, the learning curve, because it is a big learning curve on how to talk to people, how to talk in front of a microphone and everything. And it was so wonderful to watch you grow. And you call me up and you'd say, hey, what do I do in this situation? Or what do I do in that situation? And I'd give you my take on it. And I'd say, try and make it your own. And that's exactly what you did. And I remember when you were struggling to get, even invited to one conference. Now you're getting invited to, multiple every year, and people are wanting you on their shows to get your knowledge and everything. And I just, I feel like a proud papa, even though, I'm only
Papa Dave.
Papa Dave. I do.
Papa Dave.
Because you've done absolutely amazing for yourself.
Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet, Dave. I appreciate that. I just do it because I love it, and I just roll with it. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. Okay. I'm doing it right. And I'm learning from the best, and that's you. Okay. It's you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. How did you become, for people who are not familiar with you, a monster hunter?
Oh man, it's in my blood. It just happened. Okay. What's up, Patrick Noble? Thank you for that. You're awesome. I see you've been practicing a remote viewing. I watch you. I'm just kidding. I just got to hang out with Patrick actually in the Alabama woods about 3 weeks ago or so.
He sent me a picture.
Awesome.
He sent me a picture. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, Patrick.
It was a great picture of you and him hanging out.
Oh yeah, we got to hang out. It was fun. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, because I might have had some really strange cryptid encounters when I left that night after hanging out with all them. Okay, so back around 2011, okay, I went to a presentation one night my mom invited me to this little presentation at a meeting she was going to of some guys that were Bigfoot field researchers. And she was like, these guys are from North Georgia. I'm from Georgia. And she was like, I think you might enjoy this because, I had lived a life for a long time of just like paranormal things happening in my life and being really in tune with like ghosts and looking for ETs and UFOs in the sky and stuff like that when I was a kid. And my mom was like, why don't you come with me to this meeting? And so I went, met these men who were very, very much into, they had already found Bigfoot. They had all the proof of it. And they've moved up a level to like the mind, body, spirit aspect of Bigfoot. And I thought that was really cool. I had a whole lot of questions for these guys because they were actually into the communication with Bigfoot at that point. They had already proven their existence basically. And they ended up inviting me to an expedition. And that's pretty much how I got into Bigfooting because I wouldn't be here today if they had not invited me out there. And I eventually became a member of their team. And it snowballed from there, as everything in my life does. It snowballs. I start off with a little seed, and it sprouts. And now I'm in a full-grown orchard. Okay, and now I am the Cryptid Huntress. But that's how it started. And I've been hunting monsters since 2011, and I found a few.
So when you meet somebody for the first time and they say, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And you say, "I'm a monster hunter." What's their reaction usually?
Well, I don't usually say that. Okay.
I would. Take advantage of it.
Well, it depends on the situation. I worked in politics my whole life. So I know how to read a room and read a crowd. And if it's appropriate, I will say that. Okay. But sometimes it's not. And sometimes I just have to say, well, I'm self-employed. It just depends. Like I said, I worked in government for almost 20 years. And so I had a job, I had a real job at one point. Okay. And I was an executive director of an entire state agency here in Georgia. And so I loved that job. I was actually Bigfooting while I was working there. Not simultaneously, like at the same time, but like on the weekends. I was Bigfooting. And when they would ask me what I was doing, I just say, oh, I was just going camping. Because back then it wasn't as popular to be a Bigfooter as it is today. Today it's kind of cool. Back then it was crazy.
The influence that you have in this field, not only as a remote viewer and a cryptid hunter, but one of the very few women who is actually at the top of their game looking at this. How has the community reacted to your growth and your knowledge regarding the cryptid subject?
Oh, man. Well, it depends on what community you're talking about. Okay, because there's a bunch of different communities as far as online, outside that's not online, boots on the ground, things like that. Everybody's super amazing, actually. Everybody. We got a couple people that don't like it, okay, that have come at me and stuff. And that's okay. It's okay. I'm growing on everybody, I think. Okay. But nonetheless, you know what I went through, Dave. You know the things I went through for a little while. And it's just a matter of, it's the same with any community, by the way. The new person comes out. I remember somebody told me a long time ago, they're like, the Bigfoot community eats their own, and I was like, well, I'm nice to everybody. I shouldn't have anything to worry about. But yeah, I hate to go down this rabbit hole. Okay. But in general, I have been widely accepted, and it has been amazing, and it's been wonderful. I have a wonderful viewing audience, even on all my shows, and especially with the boots on the ground group. There's a lot of respect there. Here's the thing. I give respect, and I have nothing but respect for everybody and for everyone, from everything from armchair researchers to boots on the ground researchers. And I can relate to everybody. And I respect everybody. And so I think that helps with them respecting me back. You know what I mean? But of course, like I was going to say, with every community, there are people. I don't know if they're placed in certain communities to just disrupt. I think they are, actually. But there are people who have an agenda, and maybe it's to suppress the truth, or like just jealous, or I don't know what it is. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on online. I'm just talking about online. Okay. But you just got to keep it moving. You really just have to keep it moving, Dave, because if I sat around and worried about it, I wouldn't get anything done. And so
true.
I'm here having fun. And it seems like every time I talk about how, well, I'm just here to have fun. And when it's not fun, I'm going to quit. Well, when you say stuff like that, there are people who will specifically target you to not make it fun for you. So you got to be careful what you say publicly, I've learned. Okay.
I remember giving you that lesson.
You did. You actually walked me through a lot of stuff, a lot of things. You held my hand for me. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I want to ask you, though, I mean, for our audience who is listening, maybe many for the first time, and they have an interest in the Monster Club here, what was it like for you to see your first monster?
Oh, man. Well, it was shocking. It was actually kind of shocking. It was a little jarring, and it was fun. Okay. That was my experience. I've grown up experiencing supernatural things and paranormal stuff. And I was lucky enough to come from a family who didn't judge, really make fun of me and my experiences and things like that. I have a very supportive mom. I saw my mom in this chat. I'm not going to say who she is, but she's in here tonight. I see her. And so I have a very supportive family. And so that's good. But yeah, I have to say, I keep really good people around me at all times. And I have a really strong team. I'm on four or five. I'm going to say I'm on 4 different teams. One of my research teams has morphed from the North Georgia Cryptid Researchers into Seekers, is what we call it now, because our good friend Bob Grumpy Wilson passed away last year. He was ahead of that. So now it's called Seekers, but I'm on 4 separate research teams, and at least 2 of them are extremely active still. And what's up, CW Ops? Okay, so that's one of my teams I go out with. But we're very active, and it makes a big difference having people you trust around you out there, and it's not as scary when you have people that have your back all the time. But first time I ever had an encounter with I guess you can call it a monster. It was just a Bigfoot, like Bigfoots and stuff. It was so exhilarating that I'm here today talking about it. And yeah, I'm not going to act like I've never been scared or anything, but I always tell my audience at the very end of all my shows, I say, don't live in fear, y'all. Okay. Don't live in fear. Live in awareness of everything that's around you, especially in these crazy times we're living in. We gotta live in awareness, but don't live in fear. Okay. There's nothing to fear. We're out here chasing monsters, so y'all don't have to. Okay.
That first encounter that really got you addicted to this subject, what happened there?
Oh man. First time. Well, it was actually the first time I ever went Bigfooting. I met that team that I told you about, that I met at that presentation. And, that team is like my family now. Okay. We're all like family. But I went out there with them. They were having like this big expedition where they had invited a whole bunch of people out there. And I say a whole bunch because it was only 4 guys that made up this team. And at least 2 of them are military veterans, but they're all survivalists, trackers, like they're all wildlife biologists, all that kind of stuff. And so they oh God, what was your question? I just had a brain fart.
Just that first time you had that encounter, what happened there?
Oh, okay. So I went on a big expedition. I'm sorry. I have those moments these days. I'm becoming a senior. That was a senior moment, y'all. But I went on this expedition with a whole lot of people. They'd invited their friends and family and stuff out there. And so there was like probably 20 people out there. And so we broke off into small teams. I went out there to go see a Bigfoot, Dave. I just wanted to go see a Bigfoot. That's all I wanted. And I had no expectation of actually seeing a Bigfoot out there. I was just going to go, if nothing else, I was going to go camping and have fun and meet some new people. And I was all by myself. And so I showed up at this campsite up in the North Georgia mountains, undisclosed location. And I met all these really cool people. And the first time I ever had an experience was that first night that I went out there. And so like I said, these guys were established. They knew where the Bigfoots were. They had been dealing with them for decades at this general location, actually. And so I was like, well, hey, put me in the group that's going to do the weirdest stuff. I'll be bait. I volunteered to be Bigfoot bait and everything. Cause I was wild and free back then. I didn't have a kid or anything. I was young. All right. I was young and free. And so I was like, well, just put me in a weird predicament and I want to see a Bigfoot. Okay. And so they used that to their advantage. And I, in return, was going to maybe get to see a Bigfoot. And so we went out to this field. And back then it was just called Field Number 1, I think. And after that weekend, it became known as the UFO Field. All right.
Really?
Yeah, it did. It's to this day we call it the UFO Field. But I went up there and there were like, I'm going to say 5 or 6 guys with us and myself. And 2 of the original team were there with us. And then some other guys that were like, came in from out of town. Actually, some of these people I was out there, there's some pretty well-known Bigfooters actually today. And I had no idea who they were at the time. I didn't know what they were Bigfooters. I didn't even, people weren't known for Bigfooting as much back then, except for like Ron Moorhead maybe, and, a couple other people. So, but these guys are pretty well-known Bigfooters and stuff. And one of the guys goes, hey, Jessica, I dare you to walk up that hill and up to that tree line. Just walk up there by yourself. It was kind of late at night. It was dark. And he said, walk up to that tree line. And I was like, okay, cool. And I know I've told this story a million times, y'all. I'm sure the audience has heard this before, but I decided, okay, well, cool. What's the worst that could happen? They're going to watch me through their thermals and their FLIRs, their night vision devices. And so if something happened, my mom, who's in the chat right now, they could at least tell her what happened to me. If something runs out and grabs me, right? And so I just said, okay. And I started walking. I didn't have a flashlight. I had a headlamp on, but I didn't turn it on because they had told me they don't use headlamps out there very often. And if anything, they use like a red light on their headlamp. And so I had my backpack on, and I think I had like some snacks in it and something. I had like no radio or anything. And I was a newbie. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay. So, but I started walking up that hill and I got about halfway up it and I was nervous. I was very nervous. And as I got about halfway up that hill, I heard one of the guys running up behind me. I braced for impact. I thought they were going to surprise me and scare me. And right as who I thought was a guy, one of the guys, and I was thinking like, God, that's so unprofessional. Like, why would anybody do this to me? Like, I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm scared. Okay. I wasn't scared is not the right word. I was just like nervous. Okay. But right when they got up to me, I could hear them running, like the footfall I could hear it. I knew they were coming up behind me, and I braced for impact. And right when whoever it was got up behind me, they swept my legs out from underneath me from behind and kept running. And I could feel the pressure. I could feel the energy. I could feel the wind. I felt it, everything. And I looked over and there was nobody there, Dave. Nobody.
No.
Yeah. It was wild. That was my very first experience, actually. And it doesn't end there. Okay. So when that happened, I lost my balance a little bit. And I told you I braced for impact, but then I was so shocked. It was so shocking when I got hit, like on the back of my legs. The distress symbol was like throwing my arms up in the air and like waving. And I didn't do that. I remember like trying to keep my hands down, even though I had like kind of, I kind of like, I don't want to say I fell. I don't know. I moved. I kind of jumped a little bit. And so I guess like, I didn't know what to do. I looked around to make sure I had not tripped over a log or like hit my leg on a limb or something, but it was an open field. There was nothing there. And so I thought, well, maybe I fell in a hole. I looked around. There was no hole. There was nothing. And so I thought, well, okay, I don't want to look like a total wimp. So I decided to keep walking because I was like, well, that was weird. I don't know what to do. And I'm up here by myself. I'm just going to keep walking. And
hold that thought because we're going to go to our first break of the night. I love it when the Cryptid Huntress is here on Spaced Out Radio. She just makes it so much more entertaining, and we're glad to have Jessica Jones here all the way from outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, the Cryptid Huntress. spooky stories, remote viewing, Sasquatch, Dogman. Yep, she packs a good punch when she needs to. That's why we love her around here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. Mark, I'm going to ask your question in hour 2 to Jessica. I'm just putting up the super chat right now, my friend, but I will get to that, okay? And I appreciate that, my friend.
Good question, Mark.
Very good question. Very, very good question.
Dave, can I give a shout out to all my friends in the chat right now?
Of course you can. Please do.
What's up, y'all? I see so many of my good friends. Some of my favorite people are in this chat right now. Okay? For real, though. In addition to my mama. Praise hell, praise Dill. If you ain't first or last, Joe, I see you in there. Yeah. Blue-eyed Northern, what's up, Pat? What's up, everybody? I mean, okay, so one of the last trips I went on, I went and hung out with some of my buddies out in Alabama, and we've got a whole crowd in here from over there in Alabama. I actually had Pat and Joe and let's see, who else? BF Bud on my show about 2 weeks ago. They have a great video, by the way. Some thermal footage. I had remote viewed it, Dave. We'll talk. Maybe we can talk about that in a little bit. And I think they have some of the best video footage of a dog. I think it's a Dogman. It's either a Dogman or a snouted Bigfoot out of the LBL that they just took back in March. They're in your chat right now. Yeah. You need to have them on your show, too.
I would love to.
I highly recommend. Is Bud in here, too, Patrick? I don't know if Bud's in here.
Who were you mentioning? You were talking Flat Rock?
Flat Rock's on my show tomorrow night. Is Flat Rock in here too? What's up, Flat Rock? He is going to be my guest tomorrow night on the Cryptid Huntress channel. What's up, Flat Rock? Well, I'm going to hit you up tomorrow in the morning.
What I'm going to do for those people that you're saying should be on this show, I'm going to put up Filthy's email here. And if you get a hold of Filthy, if Jessica says you should be on this show, then you should be on this show. So if you could email Filthy, bookings@spacedoutradio.com, right there, bookings@spacedoutradio.com, he can fill you in. Or if you want to do a weekend show with Sweet Robbie G because you have more time on a Saturday or Sunday, we can fill that too from getting that email to Filthy. All right.
Oh yeah, I see.
Yes, his real name is Filthy. Monica Davies, how are you? Good to see you. Bayou Kraken, welcome to SOR Chat. And if you are new here, do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell, because we are literally here 7 days a week, and never when Jessica is on the air. Never when Jessica is on the air. That's one thing that we're good with. Kiri Ann Quantum, welcome to SOR Chat. There's my young lady. Michelle Eilis. I love her. And her giant of a husband. Nice guy. Nice guy. The Navajo warrior. Michelle's actually a professional wrestler.
No way.
Totally. Both her and her hubby are professional wrestlers.
That's amazing. I used to love the gorgeous ladies of wrestling back when I was a kid. Do you remember that, Dave?
So did I.
Yeah.
So did I.
Oh,
that was
my dad loved it too.
That was early teen porn for us.
I mean, the Voodoo Mama, remember her? Yeah.
I remember the Southern Bells. They were my favorite, the Southern Bells.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Some things never change, Dave. I'm just kidding.
I know. I know.
I'm kidding.
Well, let's see here.
That's funny.
Yep. Yep. Michelle, who goes by Crazy Hot Morgan, actually has a move that she coined the SOR bomb that she blows up her opponents with.
Oh, my gosh.
True story. Not even BSing. I love her for it.
I love that. I'd like to see that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And her hubby, the Navajo warrior, he's like one of the strongest men in the United States, literally. He's in the seniors, like, powerlifting competitions,
Oh my God.
I think the dude bench presses like 600 plus pounds. I could be wrong.
I wonder if he ever played rugby.
Who does that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I thought we used to play with. I
Michelle
used to play
says-
rugby, so I used to have friends that like guys that were like that played rugby. So
They are such awesome people. They really hate El Ovni Volador and El Fantasmo. Like there's a real beef between El Ovni Volador and El Fantasmo, and Michelle and Navajo Warrior. I don't know what caused that, but it just happened one night. Contrary One, how you doing? But yeah, hold on one second, Jess. I just want to say a big thank you to T-Bone, Deborah Rooney, Noble Patrick, Mel WD40, Mark, and Michelle for the great super chats. We really appreciate your love and support. Here we go, the second half hour. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to get into some monster talk with Jessica Jones coming up momentarily. We love it when the Cryptid Huntress is here. But first, we want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. On YouTube, the popular channel, The Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, is here hanging out with us, talking about all sorts of monsters that she is chasing down in the beautiful state of Georgia. Dogman, Bigfoot, ghosts, aliens, you name it, she's running it on down, and she has the butt-kicking boots to do it. Jessica, welcome back.
Thank you. Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. That's my motto.
Now, recently you were on an expedition where you may have had an encounter with Dogman. What happened there?
Yeah, that was weird. That was super weird. Actually, I was out in the Alabama forest with some of the people who are in your chat tonight, and I went out there to meet some friends. And I guess, I mean, they made it public because we were talking about. I was actually live with my buddy Mark, Mr. Mark Green. I don't know if he's in the chat tonight. He's may not be. It's kind of late. Okay, but him and his beautiful wife Becca, and they invited me out to Alabama, to the woods out there, near somewhere around the Talladega National Forest somewhere. And I was out there. I just spent the day in the evening. I left around midnight on a Friday night, and I was headed home. I only live. Listen, if I'm close enough to home, and I'm out at a camp out or something, like if I'm close enough to drive home, and I sometimes I will, just because it's hot. It's nice to have AC in a bed. Okay. And so it just depends. But I didn't spend the night out there. I left around midnight, and I was driving down the road, heading back home to Georgia. I was in Alabama, and I had about an hour and a half drive home. And it was a creepy drive, by the way. Okay. Very creepy drive through that forest. And when I hit the pavement, finally felt good to hit that pavement, because I was thinking, man, if my car breaks down, I'm going to die. Like, I'm not going to survive this. I'm not, and I don't get creeped out very often, Dave. Not like that. But I was by myself, and it felt good to hit the concrete. That's all. And so when I took a turn out of the forest out there, and I went through a little intersection, and I drove up a little ways, I saw some eye shine. Now, I am not definitively claiming that these were dogmen that I saw, but I don't know what they were. Okay, I could not tell what I was looking at. Because it was so odd. You know, we have these charts, right? I show them pretty often on my show. We talk about dogmen. We have people that come on the show that talk about their experiences. And I just look at these charts that I've got, and there's like 6 or 7 different categories of dogmen. Okay, well, so I just assume all the dogmen kind of look like one of these categories, right? And so what I saw didn't really fit the bill of any of them at all. So it was really difficult to figure out what I was looking at, because as I came up this hill, I saw some eye shine ahead on the left side of the road, And I got close enough and I was thinking, man, that's a big dog. And then I thought my rational brain kicked in, as it always does. Usually I hope it does, usually. But as I got up to it, there was reflective eye shine, and there was tall grass. The grass, if I had gotten out of my truck, it would have been at least waist high. It was about waist high. I'm like, what, 5'8", 5'7", 5'8". And so it was about waist high. And this dog, what I thought was a dog, was like crouched down in the tall grass. And I had my bright lights on. And so the lights were shining on it. And I slowed down to look at it, because then when I got up to it, I was like, that's too big to be a dog. That's a bear. I was like, it's got to be a bear. And I could see its head. It was all black, and it had rounded ears like a bear, but its head looked more like a panther. Okay. So I started thinking, well, maybe it's a panther. Like there were so many things going through my head. And it's actually the first thing I thought, and what I said out loud was, that's an African dog. That's an African dog. And then I was like, wait a second, it's a bear. No, it's a panther, because the way it was moving, first of all, it slouched down in the grass. It showed its teeth to me, and it was, like I said, it was all black. It didn't have a whole lot of hair on its face. But the way it moved like what a panther would move like. And I'm just sitting there trying to figure out, what in the world am I looking at here? I mean, it was unlike anything I'd ever seen in my life. It actually looked more like a hyena than anything, but it was all black, with bright white teeth. And as I'm passing it, trying to figure out what I'm looking at here, because it was the size of a bear, like a medium-sized bear, I look over to the passenger side of my truck, over on the right side of the road, and there was another one. And the odd thing about this other one was that it was crouched down in the tall grass, but its back was turned to me, and its head was down. So all I could see were its shoulders and its back. And it looked like almost like a chimpanzee with long, wiry black hair, like pitch black hair. And it never turned around and looked at me. And I just was like, first of all, I made sure my doors were locked when I was on that creepy road. Okay. Driving out of there. So, but yeah, I wasn't scared or anything, but I was just trying to figure out what I was looking at. And so I had about an hour and a half to drive home to think about it. I pondered on it the entire trip. And I was like, well, it wouldn't have been safe for me to have like even stopped, or rolled my window down or anything like that. So I just thought about it, and I was like, well, this was just weird. Now, surely that was a bear. I wonder if they have panthers out here. But it looked like a dog. That was a dog, but it's too big to be a dog. And so the next day, I actually ended up messaging some of the guys back at base camp. I think I messaged Joe and Pat that are in the chat right now tonight. And I messaged him. I messaged them. I messaged Mark back at camp the next day. I waited because I didn't get home till 2 a.m. And I told them what I saw, and Mark wrote me back eventually and was like, hey, well, my buddy owns that property right there, because I told him exactly where it was. He said, that's somebody I know who lives there, who owns that property. And not only do they have booger encounters, which are Bigfoots, they've had Dogman sightings out there, 2 to be exact. I think he said 2. I'm pretty sure he said 2. But it made me start thinking, okay, well, that must have been a Dogman, Dave. They must have been Dogman. It's very odd for me to see something that, like, I just cannot understand what I'm looking at. But that's kind of the way it goes, I guess, sometimes when you see something that's probably not supposed to exist in this realm.
No kidding. How far away were you from these potential dogmen?
I was in my vehicle on the road, and they were probably, each of them, the one on the passenger side was like 2 feet from the road, and the one on the driver's side was probably about 15 feet away from me. That's
still pretty damn close.
Yeah, it was close enough to where if it wanted to jump out at me and grab me, it would have. Okay, but they didn't. And even the next day, I was still trying to rationalize that was probably a bear or a cougar or something. I was still, because it was just too odd. And so, like I said, definitively, I'm still trying to put my finger on whether that was a Dogman. But after Mark told me that they actually have had Dogman sightings at that exact location, it made more sense that it was probably Dogman.
Do you think in a case like that it was meant to be for you to see them, Or do you think they were just there minding your own business and it was just something along the lines of coincidence?
Well, as in all the other sightings of everything that I've had and the encounters that I've had, everything happens for a reason. And it's when you least expect it, stuff like that happens. When you least expect it. And yeah, I think that it was meant to be. And it's honestly what it did the most was just make me really confused, really confused. And to also kind of open up the conversation in my head, because I have a lot of conversations in my head, as to like, what are these charts with the Dogman and stuff? Because there's actually a lot more out there that just, it doesn't fit a category of whatever's on some of these charts that we show even during my shows.
So the fact that one was kind of watching what you were doing and the other one just was paying no attention, to me that sounds a little weird. Were you a little weirded out by the fact, especially with the second one, that it wouldn't turn up to see you coming because of the noise or the headlights?
Absolutely. That was what freaked me out more than anything, was the one that had its back to me and it did not turn around. Even with my bright lights on, I mean, because any kind of animal, when you're out, out in the woods, when you shine a light on something, usually it's going to turn around to see like what you are, like what. I had never encountered that before, where it just didn't turn around. It was like Blair Witch or something out there with some kind of animal with its back to me, and it just wouldn't turn around. And so I was like thinking, well, maybe something had maybe they had been hit by a car or something, but there were no cars out there. I mean, I was literally in the middle of nowhere. There were no cars. I didn't hit a car until I got into town, like 20 miles down the road. I never passed a single car until I was literally 20 miles away.
Okay, so as a person driving alone, you have this encounter. I mean, did you feel like after that happened that they were watching you the entire time, or that they were maybe, as funny as it sounds, maybe following you?
No, they weren't following me or anything. No, they were just sitting there. They were like busted when I put my lights on them. It was, they may have been eating something. Here's another thing, another part of the story that I hadn't told you yet. About 50 yards past them, 70 yards, 75 yards, maybe, I don't know. There was a domesticated dog in the road, like on the side of the road. It was like a brown and white dog with long hair and stuff. And I thought, oh man, maybe so in my mind I was thinking, well, maybe it was just like a pack of dogs or something. But those two things that I saw were way bigger than dogs. So and maybe they were friends with that dog down the road, or maybe they were chasing that dog. I mean, who knows?
I've never seen a Dogman. I think I've been in an area where I've felt them, but I've never seen one, and they absolutely petrify me. What's going through your mind? I know you've been in areas where they're located, but what is it like to actually see one?
Oh man. Well, I mean, if you're referring to those two things that I saw, it was confusing. It was very confusing. But see, like, I was in the comfort and the security of my truck with the doors locked and a pew pew at my side. Okay. Not, and I could have sped off at any point, with those things, but I don't know. It was, in my case, it was just confusing and it was amazing at the same time. Cause I was like, okay, well, maybe that was a Dogman. I don't know. This is what I do, Dave. I'm the Cryptid Huntress, right? And so I want to see stuff like this. I was out there in the woods to go hopefully have an encounter with a Bigfoot or a Dogman. And here's the thing. And I want to kind of preface, I should have prefaced with the story, like what I was told, this account of the story behind that campsite where we were at that day. Actually, part of the reason I think they go there to this one particular campsite, it's a hunt camp out there in the Alabama forest. And I was told after I got there that a hunter had been found dead in that exact campsite. And I think that Patrick Noble was camped out right there beside where his body was found, according to the story, that he was found with his arm ripped off and his leg was like jammed up behind his body or something. His leg was broken and he was leaned up against a tree out there, was found like that. And I don't know how else an arm would get ripped off like that unless there was a Dogman or a Bigfoot out there.
That's just scary. Just scary. What do you think attracts Dogmen to people?
Oh man, I think dogmen probably try to stay away from people. Actually, I don't see them going and harassing people like just for fun, but they might. I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people that have had dogman encounters, and we even got Javier's in the chat tonight. What's up, Javier? Cryptid 559. He's had several encounters with dogmen out there in California, and it's almost like happenstance is what I want to call it. When people come across a dogman, I mean, it's not very often now. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because I do also listen to my buddy Vic Cundiff has a great podcast called Dogman Encounters. And there have been some really interesting encounters of dogmen or werewolves kind of hunting people down and harassing people. So it just depends. It just depends, really. I think that, like I always like to say, the cryptids have personalities like humans, kind of. I mean, I'm not saying they're just like humans, but you got the good ones and you got the not so good ones. And you got some that'll chase you and some that just want to be left alone. So it just depends.
I still don't want to see one. I still don't want to see one. And the worst part about it is when you know it's going to happen, you just don't know when. Because every indication that I have in my body is knowing that it's going to happen. And I don't want to. I'm going to whine and complain about this one a little bit. I really don't want to. They scare me. But I know it's going to happen. I mean, did you ever have that feeling in the bush or when you're heading out to the bush? That you just knew?
That I just knew. Well, here's the thing that I believe. I believe that I'm going to speak from Bigfoot experience, because that's my bread and butter right there. That's what I love. That's what I started off doing, was Bigfoot field research. They know we're coming out there before we get there. So that's what I believe. I don't know so much about the dogmen, because dogmen are kind of new to me a little bit. We've not come across a lot of dogmen out in the field. It's been mostly Bigfoot, but I think that they know, as far as the Bigfoots go, they know we're coming before we get there, and they're very smart. And I have, listen, just about any time I go out in the woods, I have something weird that happens, Dave. Okay, there's certain people, like I had mentioned to you before the show started tonight. It's not always the land that we go to. It's not the locations. It's the people that bring the high strangeness and the activity. It's just not I'm not saying it's not like that in every situation. Okay. It could be different. A lot of land just holds a lot of energy and portals and, ley lines and all that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of activity some places, but you can take me anywhere and you're probably going to have an encounter. Okay. If I'm around with something, and I'm not saying it's going to be a Bigfoot or dogman, but there's going to be something weird that happens.
Why do you think you're such a magnet?
That's a good question. It's been like that my whole life, Dave. It's been like that my whole life. I think some people just have that energy or something. It's a frequency, maybe. I'm just not sure. It could be genetic and passed down. I mean, I come from a long line of psychics and stuff, and nobody in the family ever admitted to being psychic, by the way. Okay, nobody. It's not like everybody's like, oh, call me now. It's not like that. Just people who are very psychically switched on humans, and have ghost encounters. And my great grandmother and my great aunt, I tell this story pretty often. Back in the 1980s, they were driving down the road in Rome, Georgia, down a highway, and a light came down over their car. And they said the next thing they know, they were a county or two counties over, and it was an hour later, and they were 20 miles down the road. They don't know how they got there. Okay. And they were devout Christians. Okay. Very religious. They attributed that to angels taking them out of harm's way. There was never any mention of aliens and UFOs ever. Okay. But that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with in my family lineage right there. Okay. So maybe it's that. I mean, who knows, Dave? I don't know. I just think that I have a pretty open heart about stuff, and I'm not out to hurt anybody. I'm not here I don't go out there to hurt anything. I do protect myself. I'm a savage, man. I will protect myself at all costs if I have to, but I'm not going to hurt anything unless it tries to hurt me first.
The cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have just over 5 minutes to go before we go to break at the top of the hour. Tell us your favorite Bigfoot story.
One of my personal stories, or my favorite
Yeah.
Bigfoot story of all time?
Well, let's start with your favorite all time, and then we'll go to, after the break, your favorite Bigfoot story.
My favorite Bigfoot story of all time probably would be the Albert Osman story. That's up around where you live, actually, where that guy got kidnapped by a Bigfoot. And he got, because I always talk about like Bigfoot burritos and being a Bigfoot burrito out in the woods in my tent and in my hammock. Because I do when I do like a hike in, like we hiked into Alabama to those woods about a year ago. It was like July of last year on a Dogman hunt. And I slept in my hammock with a tarp over it. That was a Dogman burrito. But Albert Osman was a real Bigfoot burrito, and got thrown over the shoulder of a Bigfoot and taken into a cave after a long day of bouncing around on a Bigfoot shoulder. And I don't know, that poor old guy. I tell you what, Dave, if that story was not true, he pretty much got ridiculed his entire life about that. And he kept the same story until the day he died. That really happened.
You know what? I'm surprised. I'm surprised that, I'm sure it's happened, but I haven't heard of it publicly. I would love to take a camera crew and try and retrace his steps. Try and find the information of where exactly it happened. That would be such an amazing documentary.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. It's just an interesting story. And, and I see all the ridicule and stuff. I don't, I've covered it on my channel, on my shows and stuff. And there's so many skeptics out there. I'm a skeptic too. Okay, I am. I have to be. I'm a researcher. You can't just believe everything you hear and what you see. And, when I take reports from people, I have to look them in the face. I prefer to be there face to face in their presence when we're getting, taken down encounter stories and things that happen to people, because I need to feel the energy. I need to know, is this person telling the truth? Okay. And things like that. And I have a very, very open mind about everything. But, if somebody if they've come to the end of their rope, the end of the line, and they've contacted me or somebody on my team, that means that they're pretty desperate at that point. Okay. So there's no reason not to believe people, but it's good to be able to do that, to be there in their presence, and to let them to feel the story. Do you know what I mean? To feel it, and to get an idea. You were asking me if we have time. I can tell you about my.
We got about 2.5 minutes.
Okay, well I got time then. I got contacted. This is one of my favorite Bigfoot things that happened, because it was really interesting. Was a few years ago, I got contacted by a state park ranger here in Georgia, and he was at his wit's end because. He didn't know a whole lot about Bigfoot, but they had gotten like 9 Bigfoot reports at his park over the course of a month. And he didn't know what to do. He said that he was having to write up all these reports and send them to the governor's office. Well, I used to work in government. Back then I was still working. I can't remember how long ago. And it was only 5 years ago, so I wasn't still working there. Okay. But he told me, he said, that he had been writing up these reports and sending them to the Georgia governor's office. And he had contacted a mutual friend of ours, someone that he and I both are friends with. And he said, hey, I'm having all this happen. I'm freaking out about it. I don't know what to do. And my friend Nikki said, oh, hey, my friend Jessica is a Bigfoot researcher, and put him in touch with me. I ended up FaceTiming the guy that same day, so I could see it. So I could see his face and be like, okay, tell me what's happening. And we ended up talking. He told me about all the different encounters. I took all these notes, and I was thinking, man, this is wow. All these people are showing up with, don't know each other, didn't know there were Bigfoot sightings. And every week there's another Bigfoot sighting. And so we ended up going out there after he called me to tell me that someone had died from a Bigfoot encounter out there.
That's rare to hear.
It's really wild. So, it's really not that rare, actually. Now that I've been talking to a lot of other researchers and investigators, it's not that uncommon. Several people I know have taken investigative, reports like that. And so we ended up going out there, Dave. And one of the stories he told me, and he took us to the location where this happened, was that there were 2 couples that were camping out at their campsite out there, and they were walking down a trail. It had just gotten dark, and two of the people were in the front and two of the people were walking behind them, and that a 7 to 9 foot tall Bigfoot had jumped down from a tree in front of them and scared the first two people, and they took off running. People behind them walked up to see what they were running for, and they saw a 7-inch tall squirrel in the middle of the night.
Tall.
It went from a Bigfoot to a squirrel, Dave.
Weird.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. We're going to go to break at the top of the hour. The cryptid huntress Jessica Jones with some of her biggest and famous fun stories that she loves on Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, Jess, we're clear. I'm going to put you back in the green room for a couple of minutes, and we'll see you in a minute, okay?
Okay.
All right. So for a lot of people who may be here for the first time, we are a live radio show, which is why we take the radio breaks. And so on YouTube and our podcast, you'll get to hear behind the scenes or what we do, but our radio side gets commercials. So sit back, relax. We're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. am back. Wait, there's Jessica. We'll bring her back in. Nico's Halling, welcome to SOR Chat. And who else has joined us here? Hillbilly Herb, Thurston Howell III. How's Lovey? Give us an update. All right, 95 Sporty, welcome to SOR Chat. And thank you tonight to T-Bone, Debaruni ×2, Noble Patrick, Mel, Mark, Michelle, and Walter for the Super Chats. Our store is open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so check it on out. Here we go. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. The Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, is our guest tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Skiapidus. Skiapidus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Jessica Jones is here. She is the Cryptid Huntress. She is a monster hunter, the lady of the forests of Georgia. Jessica, thank you so much for being here. We'll get you to unmute your mic and come on back in. How are you?
Hey, Dave. I'm great. Don't worry. I was going to unmute it. I'm a professional now. Okay.
Yeah. You are a professional. That's right. That's right. I love your stories, by the way. I love your experiences. When you are out in the field chasing down Bigfoot, how do you know when you're in a Bigfoot area?
Well, I usually can tell it's squatchy. I know you love that word. I can tell it's squatchy before I get there. As soon as I get there, it's all about the energy of the place. But if I'm going somewhere to look for Bigfoot, I'm probably already, someone's already let me know that there's Bigfoots in that area. I just don't go anywhere, Dave. Okay. I go where the Bigfoots are. But yeah, if you can just tell when you go places. I literally can just like tune into it. And I think that comes with, I don't know, just being attuned to the Bigfoot energy, I guess. I don't know. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's the truth. It is what it is.
Right before the break, you told a couple of stories, your favorite Bigfoot story ever, then your closest, best encounter that you have had. I know you take your son out Bigfooting. How do you feel about that? How does he feel about that?
Mm-hmm. I don't take him researching. Okay. He's been out with my team, but like when we go places that are dangerous, he's not allowed. He doesn't go.
True.
Okay. There are places that he is just not allowed to go. And we're out there dealing with not only just Bigfoot, potential dogmen, ETs, UFOs, and portals, and other stuff that was unexplainable. So he's not allowed to go to those deep woods, intense research weekends and weeks that we have out there. But I take him out in the woods all the time. He's out in the woods a lot. His nickname is, well, I say Bigfoot Ben, okay, or Bushcraft Ben, it depends. But he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He loves going Bigfooting. See, hiking to us is Bigfooting. Okay. So when I say I'm taking my son Bigfooting, a lot of times we're just going hiking and stuff. And but he does go camping, but it's when, some of the other guys and ladies and gentlemen that I go Bigfooting with, they have kids too. And if they're taking the kids, I'm taking the kids. Okay.
Right
or
on.
My kid. I only have one. But it's a family affair, Dave.
Has he seen one yet?
He has. He even has a forensic artist sketch of his Bigfoot that he saw. I was there with them. Myself.
Tell us
David
that story.
Pardue. Yeah. Well, we were out in an area that is an undisclosed location, but it's somewhere in middle Georgia and here in Georgia. And we were out there. I think it was one of the last trips that my dear friend, Bob Grumpy Wilson, who passed away last year, one of the gentlemen who walked in the portal out at the meadow. We went camping with him one last time. He was really sick. And so we had a get together a couple years ago and an expedition. And we broke off into, little teams and stuff one of those nights. And my son was there with us. And we had everybody from all the different teams that were on all came and converged. And we just had a fun weekend out there with Bob. And my son, myself, David Pardue, and Don Tart, two of my dear friends, longtime Bigfooters from up in North Carolina and South Carolina. They were out there. And so us four went on our own little excursion down the road somewhere. And we kind of went off trail. There wasn't even a trail there. We just kind of started walking in the woods a little bit. And we encountered something. We were all trying to figure out what we were looking at. We all had night vision or thermals or FLIRs. And my son was able to get a good look at what was a Bigfoot actually out there through our night vision out there. So that was very interesting and really cool, because it's not very often that a kid, a 10-year-old kid gets to see a real Bigfoot out there with some of the best Bigfooters in the business out there too, by the way. So yeah, he has no idea how cool that was. I don't think he even understands it. So
yeah, when my son saw his with us, it was in 2022. He was 9 years old at the time, and it was him, myself, and two of my hunting buddies that we were out at our Sasquatch spot. And it was a full moon night, and my buddy Mark heard like a tree branch crack from about 80 yards away. And we put the flashlights up, and there it was standing in the classic Bigfoot side pose. And it was just frozen right there. And we are looking at it. I call my son over, and I'm like, dude, I'm so excited. Like, it was a great moment that I actually got to share a sighting of a Bigfoot with him, And this thing, it was amazing. We measured it at probably 10 feet tall, and he was about 80 yards away from us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was a big boy. Big boy. Wow. And then way off, after he disappeared, he vanished. We don't know how he left. And because if he would have went to his left, our right, he would have had to climb over a bunch of fallen birch trees to get into the tree area where he could hide. If he would have went to his right, our left, he would have had to cross the logging road and go up an embankment about 8 feet high. Wow. And if he went backwards, we would have seen him fade off into the darkness. And if he came forward, we would have seen him. But he went from the classic Bigfoot pose down to bending down, like crouching down, and then he just vanished.
Oh, yeah. He probably spider crawled out of there. He was spider crawling, probably.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
But
it was
like
amazing.
Humans.
And then like 15 minutes later, way off in this distance, his cousin, Sasquatch Ric Flair, was like, woo! And then like 15 minutes later, it wooed again, but it was closer. And then we started hearing really weird owl sounds.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I was pretty happy to be able to have that encounter with my son, just to say, see, Daddy shows you that this stuff is real, man. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's very cool.
I have a question for you. I want to know if you've ever had this experience, because it's tripping me out from a couple weeks ago when we were out at our investigative site, Flight 21. Have you ever been in the area where there's a lot of encounters, and usually those areas are dead silent, but all around that area you can hear the birds or the chipmunks off in the distance?
Oh, man. We've had some really interesting experiences over the past, and by we, I mean me and whoever's with me, of course, but Yeah. You know that when everything goes mute, as I like to call it, goes mute out there, there's probably a Bigfoot in the area, usually,
Well,
or
the
something.
reason why I ask is because our area is very claustrophobic. Like you can literally fit maybe 2 vehicles in what I call the cul-de-sac area, which was the recovery turnaround area during the plane crash 60 years ago. And that area is all surrounded by trees. And out of the blue, we started getting a bunch of interaction on our K2 meters. They were going crazy. And for people who don't know, we were like 30 miles into the forest. There's no electricity. There's not even cell phone signal out there. And here we are. The K2 meters are going crazy. And then after the K2 stopped, it got real silent. And all of a sudden, all around us, surrounding us, the chipmunks and the squirrels started going haywire. And it started off at a distance, and then it was like they were getting closer and closer to us. So, like, we were literally surrounded by these squirrels and chipmunks going absolutely haywire.
Wow.
Have you ever had that happen?
I mean, not that I can remember where the animals started going ham, as my son would call it, going ham. I've had experiences. I've had plenty of experiences where we're out there. I mean, I had a night 2 years ago where I had my buddy Robbie Raines came down to Georgia from South Carolina. He's a police officer out in South Carolina, and he's also a Bigfooter. He's on a podcast too. Okay, but he came down to see me. I was speaking at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, and we were up in North Georgia, and I was not too far from where one of my research areas is. And so I took him up there. I don't make it a habit of taking people to my research areas. Okay. But I took him up there. He's been with me twice to the same exact location. It's actually, I'm not going to lie. It might be that UFO field. It might be, I don't know. But anyways, I took him up there and we were just up there, not expecting anything to happen. Right. But we got up there to that field where I had walked up that hill that night and had something run up behind me and sweep my legs out from behind me. Oh, I failed to mention, I didn't get a chance to tell you, after that happened, my buddy walked up to make sure I was okay. And I walked up to that tree line that I'd been dared to go to. And the guys down at the bottom of the hill watched as a Bigfoot stuck its head out from behind a tree and stared at me. Okay. That was the part that I had not gotten to yet. Okay. Before we went to commercial break. But anyways, Robbie and I had gone up to that location. And we were sitting there in the crickets and the frogs. I had never heard the wildlife at all out there. I had never heard it be loud. And we found ourselves screaming over it and like speaking so loud over it. All the crickets, the chirping, the frogs, whatever was out there. We were just talking and just catching up and having fun, you know. And under the beautiful sky that night, it was dark. We were kind of hoping the Bigfoots would show up, but we didn't have, we were just catching up. We weren't really paying attention, except we did notice that we were kind of yelling over all these chirps and frogs and stuff. And then suddenly it went mute. Everything got deathly quiet. And he and I were still yelling over it. So we were still like speaking loudly. And it was jarring because it was so shocking. We just kind of stopped and we looked at each other like, oh no, something's here. And sure enough, we got surrounded by several. I'm going to say at least four Bigfoots that we could tell were around us. I do believe they were Bigfoots that night. And we ended up trucking it back down to where my truck was at the bottom of the hill. And we looked up and we saw 2 gigantic shadowy figures at the top of the hill where he and I had just been standing out there that night. And the same thing happened the next year, kind of. But I know you were asking about the sounds and stuff. I've never heard them go crazy except for the birds. Okay. Sometimes at night, you'd mentioned the weird owl sounds. We get that a lot. You do have to know the different sounds of the forest when you're a researcher. You go out there, you have to know what's in your environment, the different sounds you might be hearing, the different types of owls that are out there. But sometimes it's like a 900-pound owl that you hear. It's not really an owl. And you can kind of tell the difference when it's not really an owl.
Let's take a couple questions from our audience here. First and foremost, let's go to Jose, who is asking, do you think that dogmen are the possible results of ET DNA experimentation?
I mean, they could be. I actually believe that it's not just ET experiments. I think our government probably creates them as well. I think maybe not our government agency, somebody. Humans probably create them as well, but they could be. I don't know. I mean, when you go back and you look at old maps, like old world maps, even the Piri Reis map from the 1500s, there are civilizations of dog-headed people on those maps. Okay, dog-headed people. That's like human bodies with dog heads on them. Of course, I don't think they're a human, but dog-headed people. And so I think they're probably just like a lot of things that are supposed to be mythological creatures, like unicorns and dragons and blimmies. One of my favorites, blimmies. I love me some blimmies.
What are blimmies?
Oh gosh, you don't know what a blimmy is, Dave?
No.
A blimmy. I just had this conversation with a group of guys this week where I went on their show, and they had not heard of blimmies either. But they're on these maps. They are actual human. They're like humanoids, like human bodies with no head. And from the neck, what would be the neck down, their face is in their chest. It's like a Humpty Dumpty or something. Blemmies. Blimmies is how you spell that. And you can look them up. They're on old world maps. Like just like civilizations of dog-headed people, there were civilizations of blimmies, most notably down in Ethiopia. They were actually known as warring people, a tribe of like people who fought. They were warring tribes of people with no heads.
Oh my, that just seems scary.
I think it sounds amazing. I did a show on blimmies about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and the artwork scared some people away. I think because I took a torso of like a body, and and I superimposed my face in the chest. It was bad. It was really funny actually. So yeah, y'all go to my YouTube channel and check that out.
We'll have to.
It was
the
so
Cryptid
bad.
Huntress YouTube channel, that is. Let's go to another question from our audience here. Let's go to Paramarv. Any guess as to how many Sasquatch are roaming North America? Have you remote viewed any of them?
There are just as many of them as there are of us, I think. I don't know. There's a bunch. There's not just one up in, the Pacific Northwest or in California. There's not just one. I don't have a number. I have no idea. I'm going to assume like thousands, millions. I have no idea. There's a lot. In the North Georgia mountains, we have a lot. There's a very dense population of Bigfoots up there. Yes, I have been given remote viewing targets plenty of times. Possible Bigfoot encounters and things that have happened with Bigfoot. I mean, I was tasked with like dead Bigfoots and stuff before as remote viewing targets. Here's the cool thing, Dave, is that I have been tasked with so many remote viewing targets. And for the audience, if you're not familiar with what remote viewing is, which I bet your audience knows, but just in case, part of that team, I'd mentioned in the beginning of the night that Bigfoot team that I joined was very much into the communication aspect with Bigfoot and the mind, body, spirit angle. And it just so happened that two of those guys were highly trained in remote viewing, like the type our military does. Okay, and our military does utilize remote viewers, and they were very much into like the Ingo Swann methods of remote viewing and stuff. And at some point, after we had some pretty intense like ET UFO encounters out in the field when we were out Bigfooting. That the head of that team was like, "Hey, well, if y'all want, I can teach y'all remote viewing, and it's going to be really tough and it's going to be long and you may not want to do it, but if you want to, I'll do it. But we all have to commit 100%. And so we all agreed and we were taught remote viewing. Okay. And so it's just a really good tool in the tool belt when it comes to, and it's different, Dave. It's very different. It's a good tool to have when you're doing cryptid field research because we can drop down into RV mode. And I know you had Trey on last night. Trey's one of my teammates, y'all. Okay. Trey learned remote viewing with me, as a matter of fact. And so anyways, but we can drop down into like remote viewing. There's different modes that we've been taught And one of them is like energetic remote viewing. I utilize coordinate remote viewing the most because I have a show every Thursday night where I do targets, blind targets I'm given. And but we can utilize that in the field on site when we're out there doing cryptid field research. And but yeah, I have been tasked with so many targets. Some of my favorite ones were like with Bigfoot would be sometimes people give me targets that are blind that are, I'm just given a set of coordinate numbers. One time I was tasked with like something that someone, it was a story off of Art Bell show, Dave. Okay. It was like
Right.
Bugs. Remember Bugs, the guy from Texas that claimed that he had unalived 2 Bigfoots?
Yes.
Yeah. That was, okay. Art Bell had some classic call-in shows. Right. And that was one of them. And what's really wild is that a lot of times when I get these targets, the data, because I just get a lot of data out of these things, it lines up with what these claims are. Okay. I do believe Bugs did bury a couple of Bigfoot bodies out in the woods. I do believe that he probably unalived them, as we say on YouTube and stuff. But yeah, I have remote viewed pretty much any kind of case that you've heard of that's like a famous case of a Bigfoot sighting. I've probably remote viewed it. I have an entire playlist over on my YouTube channel of all the shows I've done with Bigfoot. Actually, the very first show that I ever did for like a remote viewing show, because I do remote viewing shows every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern over on my YouTube channel. The first show that I ever did in regard to a cryptid type of a target was the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Yes.
And that, see, and the reason that I was tasked that, I believe, was because the culprit, some people said, well, the culprit was the Russian Yeti. Okay. That's why those college students went, they got found unalived or dead or whatever. And I was tasked that as a target. Well, let me tell you, Dave, and this relates a lot of times when I'm given these targets, I'm uncovering a lot of cover-ups with our governments and stuff. Okay, a lot of government cover-ups, a lot of things that are cover stories, and cryptids are blamed for things like that, where it wasn't it wasn't a Russian Yeti. Now, according to my data, it was not. It was actually government, and there was actually ET involvement though. It was in that data, ET involvement, and the military, the Russian military, I believe, was involved in all that for entertainment purposes only, as I like to say.
It always is entertainment purposes only.
Always.
That's interesting because my good friend Teddy Hadiiska, who has been at Dyatlov a couple of times, she thinks it was more natural.
It was. I believe okay, from what I recall from that data, I believe that, I don't think it was an avalanche. I know people are saying that. I had somebody the other day where it was like, oh, it's cut and dry. It was an avalanche. It's been proven.
No way.
No, it hasn't.
I will say no to that.
It has not. It has not been proven. Nothing's been proven, y'all. And when I talk about my remote viewing data, it's just data. I don't claim to know anything. Okay. I am just getting data.
Hold that thought, because we are going to go to break. We got another half hour with the Cryptid Huntress on Spaced Out Radio. Go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, the Cryptid Huntress.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Clear.
You know what I think, Dave, about that Dyatlov stuff? I guess we'll just talk. This is just between me and you. Nobody else is listening, right? I'm just kidding.
Yes, our YouTube channel is listening.
I know. I was kidding. I think that this is my opinion through that data that I had, right? With that Dyatlov Pass stuff, I think that they got off course. The people who died, I think they got off course and they got too close to an entrance to inner Earth that the military out there was guarding. and I think that they got flushed out and lost their lives over it. That's what I think.
Oh, that's an interesting theory.
Oh, I mean, I'm not saying I might be right. I don't know. It's just a theory, but it's worth looking into.
Totally worth looking into. I'm going to ask Teddy that.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to talk to. So you said natural. What do you mean by Like they just
She
that
thinks
overexposure or something?
It was a little bit of everything that led to it. I mean, yes, there is some strange stuff, but she thinks that she doesn't believe it was anything monster or cryptid or alien.
It was definitely. I remember a commandant was in my data. Okay, and these are blind targets. It was definitely military related. There was a cover up going on. Now I can't say it was that whole Russian Yeti picture. I think that was a person in a snowsuit or something. I think it was a setup. I think it was kind of a setup. After they had to come up with a story. That's why those people were dead. But that one woman, I did deep mind probes on that last the 4 people that were found last. Their bodies were found like 2 months later. I did a deep mind probe when I came across a person in the environment. It was that woman who had her tongue removed, and I think it was some kind of ET involvement, potentially, but it was mostly military stuff going on. They just trespassed. That kept coming up in the data. They had trespassed. They were somewhere they shouldn't have been, and they lost their lives over it. And they were. I want to say, what do you call it? Like not taught a lesson, but it was kind of like, yeah, they're kind of taught a lesson. Like they shouldn't have been there. Mm-hmm. Those last 4 that got found, like their bodies had been like traumatized to like they had been dropped out of an airplane or something. Like they had been in a car accident.
Don't forget the body who was found in a tree.
I mean, the woman's tongue was removed. An avalanche didn't go. I mean, it could take her tongue out, I guess, but.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah. Mutilated. Thank you, Doug Shelby. They were mutilated.
He prefers the Doug Shelby.
The Doug Shelby.
The Doug Shelby.
They were mutilated.
Mm-hmm. Refined Beans with Rice. Welcome to SOR Chat. That's a great name. Just a great name.
It's making me hungry. Gosh, I eat Mexican food a lot, Dave. I just noticed the other day, anytime we go out to eat,
I love Mexican food.
We go straight to the Mexican restaurant. We don't even ask. We just know. It's automatic. We just go get tacos.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would agree with that. Flights are actually pretty cheap to Georgia right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Come on down.
I was looking them up.
Come on down. Well, anytime you go to like a major airport, yeah, I got some spots. I can take you to that hill, to the UFO field one day. Cryptidville. Did I have Mexican tonight? I can't remember. Did I even eat tonight? I can't remember. Oh no. I had a fish sandwich tonight. That's what I had. It was all right.
Fish sandwich?
Yes.
Do you not like yourself?
I was just in a hurry. Okay, I was in a hurry. I had to grab something quick. And I just got that. Yeah.
All right, hold on right there, Jess. Thank you to Debaruni ×2, Michelle, Walter, Mel, Noble Patrick, T-Bone, and Mark for the great super chats tonight. We appreciate your absolute great support of Spaced Out Radio, so thank you very much. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. And this weekend, Sweet Robbie G is here, hanging on out with us with After Hours Saturday and Sunday night. So make sure you check it on out. And here we go. In like 7 seconds. Like 4 seconds. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We have the Cryptid Huntress till the top of the hour. My name is Dave Scott. I'm in the captain's chair, and I may or may not be wearing tinfoil underwear for tonight. Want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here she is, YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Jessica Jones is here talking remote viewing, taking audience questions. Jess, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good to be home, right?
It is. Let's start off with Javier. Jess, have you ever been attacked spiritually on your investigations?
Oh, man, that's a good question. What's up, Javier? No, not that I know of. I don't think so. I have had some hitchhikers come home with me, for sure. One time, I have a video of it actually, but I can't show it publicly because my son's in it, and he is wearing his underwear, and so I can't show it. I remember I thought about showing it when I was over at KGRA, and the producer was like, "Absolutely not." So, but yeah, I've had like never, not that I know of. Listen, I have a lot of spiritual protection around me. I do, and I that's part of actually remote viewing. Part of that training, we had a whole chunk of training in remote viewing on just protection practices and things like that when we're doing that. So, no, I've never been attacked that I know of. But if you want to know the story behind the hitchhikers, I can tell you that, Dave. If you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, let's hear that.
Okay, so I was at the Meadow. You guys heard all about the Meadow last night with Trey. We are on the same teams, he and I. And so I go out to the Meadow quite a bit. I'm always out there. And I know you got invited to the Meadow, Dave. So I might be seeing you out there soon. But nonetheless, I was out there, and it was actually the night that the portal showed up. I had a young child at the time. My son was only like 3, maybe 3. I think he was around 3 years old at the most, 2 or 3. Because I think we started going out there in like 2015 or 2016. He was born in 2014. Okay, so he was a little kid, and I could only stay gone for like one night when I was out in the field. I couldn't be gone 2 nights because I had a little kid. So so I went out there on a Friday or whatever, and I came home Saturday evening, and of course it was Saturday evening when the portal incident happened, and I wasn't there. I was home when all that happened. But I got to tell you, at probably around the exact same time they were having the portal incident, I had 2 orbs that showed up in my house, and at almost the exact same time. And my son was in the front living room, and I had my elliptical machine in there. So my son was like riding the elliptical machine, and he was looking all cute and having a good time. And his dad, who I was married to at the time, had his cell phone out and was recording it, and recording him because he was so cute, you know. And I was in the kitchen making some dinner, and I heard his dad go, "Hey, come in here. You're going to want to see this." And so I walked into that living room, and you can see it in the video because he's filming it with his cell phone. And he goes, "Hey, look, you got to check this out." And I look around, my son, he's still on the elliptical, just having fun. And I see these like balls of light floating around my kid. And rational brain, I go, "Oh, are those moths? Like, what is that?" And they were tiny, they were little, they were like the size of golf balls, both of them. 2 white lights floating around my kid. And his dad is like filming them on his camera. And my son, so like I can see them with my eyes, obviously. You can hear me saying, like, "What is that?" And my son goes, "Mom, ball." And he points, and he's chasing them around like with his finger. So he's like following the lights with his finger, so you can see that he sees them with his eyes, right? And these things are like circled around him, and I'm sitting there still trying to figure out what I'm looking at. And his dad says, "I can't see them with my eyes. I can only see them through the screen of the phone." And so my son and I are sitting there watching these balls of light all around the room. And his dad cannot see them at all unless he looks at the screen on his phone. He can see them through the video. And at some point, one of the balls of light, it flies into the phone. You can see it go into the camera, and the camera shuts down. The power, it powered his phone off, and the video shut down at that point. So, but let me tell you, I told you everything happens for a purpose, Dave, and that showed me proof that not everybody is on the same frequency that I'm on, and my son as well. So my son and I could see these, like we could be in the same room and having the same thing happen to all of us, but only two of us can experience that. And so, yeah, his dad, I'm not saying his dad was low vibe or anything, but he's kind of low vibe. Okay. And so that might've been what it was. But also it was interesting because the camera picked it up. The camera picked it up. So my son, myself, and the camera saw it, but his dad could only see it through the camera. So it explains a lot, Dave.
Let's go to another question here from our audience. Let's go to Paramarv. In addition to being a Bigfoot researcher, you're also an experiencer. Do you think there are any links between aliens and Bigfoot?
Yes, Paramarv. I don't know what that is, but we have some really interesting experiences where, I can tell you one thing. After I went Bigfooting, I started doing Bigfoot field research. I would wake up at night and have ETs in my bedroom. So there's a link, I think. Now, I'm not saying that they're connected, like the Bigfoots and the ETs are working together, but maybe that just being out there and experiencing the Bigfoot stuff put me on some kind of frequency with the ETs, or the ETs, like I got their attention, maybe. I just don't know. But there's definitely some kind of correlation that goes on when we're out there in the field looking for Bigfoot. The UFOs absolutely show up. Orbs show up. ET show up. We have all sorts of stuff that happens. I mean, you talked to Trey last night, and actually at the Meadow, we don't have as much Bigfoot activity out there as we do like ET and UFO activity and other high strangeness, just like weird stuff that happens out there. But I can't say like that it's completely connected, like they're connected, but I don't know. I'm just not sure, through the remote viewing that we do out there, I can say that there have been times where the guys, when I wasn't out there, the guys have dropped into RV mode, as we call it. And there have been ETs and Bigfoots working together out in the woods through our experiences out there. So, Bigfoot's working for the ETs actually and stuff like that. But I don't know. I can't say for certain what's going on, but there's some kind of connection.
Love it. Let's go to another question. Derek here is asking, Jessica Jones, Cryptid Huntress, why do people seem to have bad side effects when they go into a portal then come out?
Hey, Derek, radiation, I think. Could be the radiation aspect. I mean, we just don't know. I have no idea, but like Trey had mentioned last night, the two gentlemen that did go inside that portal have both passed away, and we have our suspicions that there may be some kind of a connection there. So I think it's radiation, personally, but I don't know. I mean, you see all these old ancient pieces of artwork, like the Sumerian stuff. They're holding that little purse. Some people think that that's like some kind of purse, like something to change their vibration to be able to access portals and stuff. I mean, that's just a theory that I've heard. So maybe it's, you got to be on a certain frequency. Like there's some kind of frequency or some kind of energy that we have to be in to be able to access portals and things like that. And we just weren't privy to it at the time. Still not privy.
Do you think, without having that type of with having that type of knowledge, if you saw a portal, do you think you would go into it?
Absolutely not. No, not at this point. I have a kid. Okay. And, that kid needs me. Okay. Maybe when he turns 18 or 20, I'll reconsider. Okay. But right now, no. And, it's really crazy because like the team had to come up with like a protocol, Dave, as to whether like if we ever encounter, because that's not the only portal that we've encountered. That's the only one that we have a video of. Okay.
Right. Let's go to another question for you. Leacham is asking, which cryptid are you nervous about seeing, and which one would you rather not see? Also, it is said when viewing, sometimes the target sees the viewer. Have you ever had a cryptid give you a "what you looking at"?
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm not really nervous about seeing any of them. I did a Skinwalker cave investigation about a year and a half ago, and that was one that I was a little nervous about because I had never dealt with skinwalkers before. But I did consult with a good friend of mine who is a Lakota medicine man. Shout out to William Nighthawk. Okay, and he gave me some really good tips on what to do. I can't disclose all that information with you, but I can say it was very similar to hunting vampires. Okay. And so when you know you're going into a cave where there's one way in and pretty much one way out, and you might be hunting vampires or something worse, it's nerve-wracking. It's definitely nerve-wracking. But yes, as far as the remote viewing question goes, I have done deep mind probes on cryptids before. Okay, by that, if you're not familiar with what a deep mind probe is, it's like when I detect like a consciousness in the environment, and by consciousness, I'm like a person or I've done a lot of remote viewing for cases of like missing people and cold cases where people have gone missing or somebody died, they don't know what happened, things like that, and so. All these targets are blind, so I don't know what I'm getting. But when I'm picking up on a person in the environment or any kind of consciousness, I do what I call what is called. I don't just call it that. It's called a deep mind probe, and I start talking to that person and asking them questions telepathically. And yes, I have definitely talked to some cryptids, and it's I don't know. I can't put my finger on one right now, but I've definitely done that before. And yes, I have been seen plenty of times.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's go. I want to answer that for a second. And now that I think about it, because that's a fun question, actually. I'm very nervous about seeing a dogman. I'd rather not see a dogman. Have you ever been remote viewing or picked up on when you're being remote viewed and seen the person?
Yes, twice that I can. Well, several times actually, but twice that I'll tell you about. How about that? Fair enough, right? The first time, actually, my team was learning remote viewing, and we were down at a location, okay, where we always went to go learn remote viewing, and I guess I can tell you now because we don't even have this place anymore. But it's down at my farm, my family's farm. We used to go down there and learn remote viewing and stuff. And there's no internet, no TVs. I mean, there's TV, but like there's no internet, no cable, no nothing, no telephones. There was no technology at all down there, and it was in the middle of nowhere. So it was a perfect place to go learn remote viewing and things, and to do psychic stuff down there. And so yeah, when you start doing remote viewing and you start you get the attention of a lot of people, and in the woo woo realm, okay, and so yeah, when we were all down there learning it, we had people trying to drop in to spy on us and stuff, and I could see them. Yeah, it was wild. Like we'd have like men that would like show up spying on us and stuff. So absolutely detected that. Another time, I do recall when I was laying in bed one night in my apartment when I lived in Atlanta, and I woke up one night to seeing like sparkly lights in the corner of my room, and I was like, golly, what is that? And I am one who was like used to wake up with ghosts in my room and ETs and all this kind of stuff. So like little sparkly lights or nothing, right? And I saw it and I was like, man, that's cool, but what is that? Well, I remember I was thinking like one day I was like, I need to like psychically tune into like whatever that was. And it was kind of like remote viewing, like an ERV.
Scary times.
Uh-oh.
Scary times.
Am I back?
You froze there for a second, but you're back.
Yeah, that's weird. The past like 2 shows I've done, like my computer just shut down, like came right back
weird.
on. I know. You know what I start talking about this stuff, and this happens. But anyways, so I decided like I needed to do like a little touch and go remote viewing kind of thing to find out what those sparkly lights were in my room. And it was at that point I realized that was me remote viewing myself in the future into the past. And that was what those sparkly lights was me remote viewing myself. And in the future, you know, time is but an illusion, y'all. Okay. And it's just all weird. It's hard to explain that to any kind of normie. Okay. But that's just my life. It
works sometimes.
It is.
Totally the way it works.
It's cool.
We had a time with Science Bob. Myself and Science Bob were having a conversation one night. We were talking on Signal, having a very deep phone conversation. And all of a sudden, I felt this remote viewer pop in. And I totally described him to Bob. He was standing, I was outside underneath my carport, and he was standing on my driveway. And I literally described him down to his glasses, his thinning hair on his top, and the pocket protector in his left upper pocket on his shirt.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I said, Bob, are you in your kitchen near a big bay window? He goes, yes. I said, is there behind that window a big tree? He goes, yes. And I said, if you look under to your left, it's the tree's right, you're going to see a person standing there. And he turns and looks and he goes, how in the hell did you just see that? He was looking at a person outside the window. Yeah. And it was another remote viewer that was viewing him. He saw the person in a shadow form. So I don't believe it was a shadow being, but it was actually the remote viewer on the other side. So it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't appreciate people trying to drop in and spy on me. They're not allowed. Okay. So there's also ways to prevent that from happening as well. So, yeah, off limits over here.
Let's go to another question.
Yeah.
Let's go to Refried Beans and Rice. Love this name on YouTube. Jessica, what are the orbs in your experience?
They're all different. There's so many different types of orbs. I have seen like orbs that are like spirits. I guess you can call them like spirit orbs, like some like a ball of consciousness. Okay, that's what I like to think of them as. You know, we've all got those pictures where there's like an orb in there, and it's like, you know, not a bunch of like humidity orbs. Okay, like orbs. All right. I've even watched. I woke up one night the week my brother passed away almost 20 years ago in an accident, and the week that he died, I was having a really rough time with that. You know, dealing with it, of course. And I woke up one night, and there were green orbs all around the room when I woke up. And I watched as they formed into my brother, actually, from the feet to his head. And so I've seen those as well. I've also experienced orbs that, like orange orbs, like one of the coolest orb encounters that I had was like an orange orb that shot through the tree line. And then all of a sudden there was this big old huff and a growl, like a Bigfoot. Hoof! Like real loud, it's just wild. But an orange orb, it was almost like the orb turned into the Bigfoot, or maybe the Bigfoot was coming through a portal. I don't know what it was. I have no idea. But it was connected somehow. And that was really cool too. So also there's a video that my good friend Matt has. And hopefully he'll come on my show one day. He's always been very hesitant to put it out to the public. But he shows this at conferences. His name's Matthew Delph. Okay. He's a good friend of mine. But he shows this at conferences. I'm going to get him on my show. We're going to show this one day. But there's a video on a CCTV camera. This will change a lot. The public needs to see this. And I keep telling him that. I'm like, please come on my show. But see, the person who gave him this video is no longer here. She's passed away. She was the head of MUFON in Tennessee, I believe. and he promised her he wouldn't show this to the public. Okay. But I think it's time. There's a video of these orbs shooting past a camera in somebody's backyard. They land on the ground and they turn into ETs, and they run circles around this person's backyard. There's 2 of them. And then the orbs the ETs turn back into the orbs, into one orb. Each turns into one orb and shoots past the camera back into the sky again. And
Wow.
they look like metallic orbs. So we see all these like orbs. I've done a lot of remote viewing of orbs, like orbs that make the crop circles. The orbs that were down in like South America recently, like the spheres and things. I'm giving those as remote viewing targets pretty often. I've got videos on all those like on my channel. If anybody wants to go see those, look up my remote viewing playlist. Lots of orb videos, lots of targets, blind targets that I've been given. Barry Littleton's given me plenty of orb targets and stuff over on the channel. But this video changes everything. Okay. In my opinion, it changes a lot. It explains a lot and it changes a lot. And if the public could ever see this video, and I hope that he does show it one day, it could change the world. I think it's interesting.
One final question. We got just over 2 minutes here. Hillbilly Herb is asking, is there an RV training program or course you would recommend?
The only one that I would definitely recommend would be the Monroe Institute. Okay, go to the Monroe Institute. We spent a lot of time training that, and Silva Mind Control as well. The Silva Center is also a good one. I would recommend them. We had some people who came out and trained us on site from Silva, actually. And but yeah, the Monroe Institute. I would highly recommend the Gateway process, the Gateway program through Monroe. 100% recommend that. That was just required, curriculum for us. We had to learn the Monroe Gateway process, all those different I said tapes, like I'm living in 1980. All the different, programs of it, whatever. You can get it on Spotify, y'all. You can find it there. But definitely Monroe Institute. That would be my one place. That's the tried and true one right there. Go to Monroe, y'all.
All right. We can sneak in one more.
Okay.
Let's go to Ann Walking. Is there any cryptid that would be considered too dangerous if it got out, or some actual, even more secret cryptid projects? And how would those look like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of weird things that are not just cryptid. We've got like animal-human hybrids and all sorts of super soldier experiments and programs that there's evidence of them, actually. And that's a whole other rabbit hole if you want me to go there. How much time do we have?
We got 30
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah, I have a lot of videos of that over on my channel. We talk about human hybrids and all these experimentations and, the zombie bear. You guys are familiar with the zombie bear if you watch my shows, okay, and things like that. So just go check that out. There's way more out there that's been hidden from us than you'd ever be aware. But don't live in fear, y'all. Okay, don't live in fear. There's a lot of scary stuff out there, but don't let that stop you from going out and enjoying life. Okay, and
you got that right.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones, we love you. Thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next, we got Swamp Dweller, then extra small Lee Strauss will be here flexing his muscles on the Q&A. We'll be back with Hour 3.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Dave. Do I have to go? I'm just kidding. I gotta
You
go
don't
to
have
bed.
to if you don't want to.
I
It's
know.
up to you.
I had a blast. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
We love
Thank
you,
you.
my dear.
I love you guys too, and thank you to all my friends who showed up in the chat tonight. Y'all are the best. And
Yes.
and I'll see y'all tomorrow night. I got Flat Rock coming on the show. Flat Rock's been in your chat tonight, out of Alabama. All right, so
Good.
y'all, I'll see everybody tomorrow night over on my channel. Dave, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be
We'll
here.
call you soon, okay?
Okay, we'll talk soon. Come to the
All right,
meadow
buddy.
with us. All right, bye,
Much
y'all.
love.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye.
The Cryptid Huntress Jessica Jones, she prefers a soft J. And if you're part of Jessica's team, you've never been here before, do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and we're going to have hour 3 next. Hanging on out. And no, I'm not doing my show shirtless, Deveroni. But I will take your super chat. Thank you. We'll leave that for Lee. He likes that stuff. I saw his recent AI pictures. He's totally into that.
Who wants to see Dave in a negligee?
All right, I am back. Missouri man, how you doing? Let's get extra small in here. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing fabulous. How are you?
You're looking good with the beard, buddy.
Yeah. Looks pretty good.
Right?
You looking good?
I try. Hard to compete when Jessica Jones is on the show, though.
Oh, yeah. She's looking
Jerens
good,
Carter,
too.
how are you? We got 30 seconds. Thank you to Deborah Rooney with a hat trick, Noble Patrick, Mel WD40, T-Bone, my man, Mark, Michelle, and Walter for the great super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support of this show, so thank you very, very much. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag. No ugly swag. Go check it out for yourself. We got some good stuff there, so make sure you check it on out. Here we go with hour number 3. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We have Swamp Dweller and extra small Lee Strauss coming up for the Q&A in just a moment's time. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Skiapidus. Skiapidus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I went on a little hiking trip with my dad to Mount Shasta, California, a small town in Northern California near the Oregon border. Shasta is home to a potentially active volcano named, of course, Mount Shasta. There are many trails on Mount Shasta, so my father and I were excited to do some hiking. We drove up the side of the mountain to the parking lot in which one of the trails began. I believe it was called the Old Ski Bowl Trail. The landscape was a very barren incline, filled with rocks, boulders, dirt, and very few trees. About an hour into the trail, we came across a very odd assembly of these large boulders. They were arranged in a circle. We thought it was strange, but we continued. If you look up pictures of the trail, you'll see much smaller rocks arranged in patterns and circles. My father and I only encountered 3 people. At least, that's what they appeared to be at first. The first 2 were a father and son. We met them on a steep incline that went along the wall of the cliff, that when we would switch back, it would take you to the top of the cliff. We stopped and said hello, talked about the trail, and then went our separate ways. Here's where it gets weird. My dad and I started walking up the incline for about 2 minutes. I turned around and I saw the father and son were incredibly far down the trail, almost like they had teleported. It should have taken them at least 20 minutes to get down there from where they were, but somehow, in only about 2 minutes, they have gotten down way further than possible. To this day, I have absolutely no idea how that could have happened. There was no one else on that trail at that point, and I could see the color of their clothes from the distance, so I knew it was them. I pointed it out to my dad. We thought it was weird, but we didn't want to dwell on it, so we just kept on moving. And here's where it starts to get much weirder. As we reached the top of the cliff, there was another strange rock arrangement that was off to the side of the trail. This time, there were far more rocks than before, and they were now arranged in rows, almost like gravestones. We continued the trail and reached another sort of incline with a switchback to reach the top of another cliff. We reached a point where we would need climbing gear to continue, so we decided to head back. When we turned around, I saw a man standing among the rocks, staring at us intently. He was wearing a button-up shirt, cargo shorts, and a wide-brimmed straw hat. He was at a distance where I should have been able to make out his facial features, but it was almost like he didn't have any, like his face was just flesh and skin. I pointed him out to my dad, and the man quickly ducked down behind a boulder and was peering out at us over the top of the boulder. It seemed almost playful, like a child trying to hide. For a few moments, I was almost out of it. I have no recollection of what was going on. According to my dad, I just started walking towards the man in the hat. My dad was calling to me, "Joshua, Josh, what are you doing? Where are you going?" And then I came to. I was standing right at the edge of the cliff. It was a huge drop, enough to kill me or seriously injure me. My dad grabbed me and pulled me back onto the trail. He told me to stay put. My dad went down to the boulders to search for the man, but he wasn't there. There was nowhere for him to go except down or up the trail. It didn't make any sense. He just simply disappeared. I have no idea what was going on in that trail, and I have no explanation for it. I've told this many times to family and friends, and no one has an explanation. I've done my fair amount of research and found similar stories about encounters with a man with no facial features wearing a hat. I've also read that Native American tribes from that area viewed Mount Shasta as a holy site. They believed it could act as a portal to other dimensions, and that it was guarded by spirits who would potentially harm anyone who tried to go up the volcano. If anybody has had any similar experiences or any insight at all, I would love to hear.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, what you need to do is go over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. He has thousands of stories for you just like that. All right, it's time for us to get to Extra Small, Lee Strauss, and the Q&A. All right, Mr. Lee Strauss, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Dave. I'm doing good. It's been busy lately, real busy, and so I'm glad for the weekend.
Oh, you're looking good though. I mean, those 2 a.m. workouts, heading to the gym. Working out from like 2:35 to 5 in the morning before you actually go put your day's work in. I don't know how you do it, my friend.
Well, I don't know how you do it, Dave. You've cut your hair and it looks fantastic.
That's all I got, man.
Yeah.
When you have a face for radio, you have to be able to do something here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's going on in the world, Dave? A lot of stuff.
There is, but I want to get to an important topic, at least it is to a number of people, myself included. It is the believers versus the skeptics.
Yeah.
And I believe that skepticism is definitely necessary in everything that you do, because not everything is a UFO, not everything is a ghost, not everything is a Bigfoot or a Dogman or a gnome or whatever it might be roaming around in the forest. Yet it seems over the last few years especially that experiencers have taken a beating in the octagon of the high strangeness. And I think we're seeing it come to fruition here where many experiencers have had enough, and their distaste for the scientific community, their distaste for the governmental side, especially in UFOs, is really starting to become prevalent these days. And I just thought we would chat about that a little bit.
Okay. So what are my thoughts on that? There's always going to be skeptics, no matter what it is, Dave.
You're really quietly. Is there any way you could bring your microphone a little closer or turn it up a little bit on your end?
Let me see here if I can boost. How is this? Is that better?
A little bit.
Getting better now. Now?
There we go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
If it's not, I can try boosting it another way.
No,
but
you're good. I could tell by my levels. You're good.
Okay, sweet. So, that there's always going to be skeptics in anything that we do. There's just people that don't want to have the energy or don't have the energy to believe in something like that. They don't want to bring it into their paradigm. Recently, you were showing an interesting photo of what looks like a Sasquatch, an image of a Sasquatch in a tree in the face. And, there's a lot of people that see things like that in trees. And a lot of people say, well, that's just pareidolia. But there is so many different types of phenomena out there that we don't even understand yet, that we don't even know that what we're looking at. It does look like a Sasquatch face. But there's always going to be people that say, no, that's a trick of the light. That's pareidolia. That's, whatever it is. You were moving the camera when you took the shot a little bit, right? And so that's okay. We just have to come to the understanding that those people are going to be there, and that's okay if they don't want to believe it.
But here's the question, and I think your microphone, no offense, I think your microphone's actually going through your computer rather than your real microphone tonight.
Let me check that.
I think that's what's happening. Well, while you're checking that, I'm going to say this. What is wrong with believing people's experiences? We always seem to have those people in our field when we say, I may have caught a picture of Sasquatch, or I saw an alien running in my backyard last night. And immediately there's people out there, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. It was a dog. Or you saw a person running through your yard, probably a burglar or a child or whatever. Like, no, nobody there. I remember one time I was telling the story on a podcast that I was being interviewed by. And I was telling the story of Samantha Mowat when I first met her and I seeing the alien in the forest. And this guy was in the chat room, and he's like, no, you didn't. That didn't happen. You're lying. You're only doing this to boost your name. And so I stopped my question there, and I said to the host, I said, I just want to respond to this. I said the guy's name, whatever it was, not very much matters in this conversation, but I said, were you there?
Mm-hmm.
Which tree were you hiding behind? Do you know where Mission, British Columbia is? Mm-hmm. I said, because if you were there, you would tell me what I'm not telling the truth on here. I was asked to tell the story and tell me what I'm not telling the truth on. And I think a lot of experiencers out there stay quiet because of people like that who just feel, it's not ridicule, but they feel that the story sounds so preposterous that it can't be true. And when it comes to this field, the one thing that we know is it's all weirdly. We can't explain it. 99% of the people are not searching for fame and fortune or a documentary or to be on a television show or even a podcast. Okay, they're not like that. They just want to know why they saw what they saw. Why are we in this field so unaccepting, many, not most, but many, so unaccepting and vocal about the experiences people are having?
Let me put it to you like this. So those individuals that say, well, that didn't happen, you didn't experience what you experienced. Are they saying that out loud to you? Or are they saying it out loud to themselves? And that's the thing. I don't think they have the capacity to understand, which we're trying to understand what we're seeing out there. But in their paradigm, in their life, they don't have the understanding to put that in a box. Like they need to put everything in a box, right? There's those people out there, right? And I'm guilty of it too, right? I mean, I am. But if they are saying that out loud, not for you, not for the listeners, but they're probably just saying it because they don't have the capacity to understand it or to want to understand it or to put it into their paradigm. They're reinforcing their own misunderstanding or non-understanding of whatever it is, the phenomena.
That's a really good point, Lee. Really good point. You know, like I even know people who've experienced things and they are still very skeptical. And I've said to them point blank, why can't you just accept what happened to you? Well, I don't have the data. I don't have the answers. I can't explain it. So that way, you know, it's like they're trying to protect themselves from admitting they've got aliens or ghosts or they've seen cryptids.
Right.
Why can't you just accept it? You know, and the more and more divide this pro versus con experiencer happens, especially in the UFO world, the more tragedy it's covering up, because it's really, I think, scaring people away from talking publicly about their encounters. Like, we'll never get another Travis Walton story. We'll never get that next Andreessen family story or Calvin Parker or Betty and Barney Hill. They're out there on social media, but those people are not out there outside of maybe Chris Bledsoe. They're not out there the way that these experiences took off. You know, there's not that next movie plot from Hollywood to talk about the phenomena out there anymore. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. And maybe they're just scared too. A lot of people that have had those incredible situations happen to them while they're driving down a road and a UFO comes over their vehicle and all of a sudden they don't remember a thing. There's those people out there that don't want to investigate their own situations. The things that happen to them, they don't want to know. Maybe it's because of religion. I mean, it could be a myriad of things. Okay. Sometimes, Dave, I believe it takes an experience that pushes them completely over the edge. They might have had one or two odd things that happen, but eventually there might be an experience that they have that just pushes them a little bit too far. And then they come out and they'll talk about it and they'll try to find help for what they're experiencing. But most of the time, people just want to be left alone.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. But it would be nice, though. You know, maybe it's a little too utopic to even think about that, Lee. That we have so many people who just want to know what happened to them. They're not asking for $1 million. They're not asking for a television contract. They're not asking to be famous. They want to know why they had missing time. They want to know what were those alien grays doing in their bedroom. They want to know why they woke up in the middle of the night and they were 4 feet above their bed. They want to know that why when they go camping to take their family camping and their trailer gets rocked by a Sasquatch. That's what they want to know. They're wondering, why me? Why is this happening to me? And I mean, it's the same thing. Like if you get in a car accident and somebody, you know, rear ends you in rush hour traffic because they're talking on their cell phone or drinking their coffee or putting makeup on. Okay. We want to know, why did you do that? Why did you ruin my day, ruin my vehicle? You know, people have had vehicles written off because of such stupidity by somebody else, and maybe that's their only mode of transportation, and they cannot afford another vehicle, right? But they get the why me answer. Why did this happen to me? You know what I'm saying? Whereas in our community, we don't get that. There's not that acceptance for it. Now, as I say that, Lee, I also want to defend the scientific community because they're on a research project that could take this technology and this subject for the next 1,000+ years. And we're taking the first steps at maybe getting there right now. If we have crash retrievals, if we have alien bodies to work on to see what they're all about. If they have that, we're on the precipice where the next 1,000 years, all of that technology will come to fruition if we don't kill ourselves on this planet first.
Yeah, I think it's going to come a lot faster than that, with AI and all of that. I mean, there just seems to be a tidal wave coming. I mean, there was just an ad put out on YouTube, and I can't remember who it was, but they were talking. Somebody from the CIA was talking about that they know about an alien program for hybriding humans and aliens. And this is a CIA guy coming out and talking about this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to watch that, podcast. I think it'll probably air tomorrow or something like that. But that's the kind of thing that's coming out now, right? We're talking about being able to travel through time, and we're, maybe dimensional travel as well, and all of this stuff that's coming out now. It seems like it's picking up, and it's picking up. Not only that, the big thing that seems like is dropping is everything, or not everything, things about consciousness and how we're all linked together, and how it's almost like we're, in a separate reality from the real reality. It's amazing. And we're talking about mainstream scientists talking about this stuff now. So things are definitely getting interesting. And I can't wait to see where this goes. And I imagine it's going to be breaking very shortly. Much more, anyway.
Lee, in your opinion, what's the balance between the experiencer and what we are seeing with the scientific community? Is there a balance?
A balance between, I mean, it's like us that have experienced, ET contact. Well, they're starting to talk about it now, in government. I mean, it's coming out. The balance is being shifted, obviously, between what we understand and what we know to now people talking about it within our government. It's definitely not in our court anymore. It's, the people that are coming forward in front of Congress, they're taking that ball and they're putting it over there in that, in that arena. We've lost it. We've lost it. So the balance has swung greatly from people like Travis Walton over to the government side of things. We've lost the ball, and I don't know if we're able to ever get it back.
I hope we can, though. I hope we can, with the idea that there has to be some sort of combination between the two. It has to be there somewhere. How do we find it? How do we bridge that gap? I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, they've got all the airtime. They get seen by umpteen radio stations and umpteen television stations. It's broadcasted for free.
Well, Lee, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. It's Extra Smalls Q&A here on Spaced Out Radio, as we love it when Lee Strauss is in the hot seat, beard and all, size small shirt, flexing his big arms for you, the radio audience. This is Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's the way we do it.
Yep. So, when am I coming to Canada?
I don't know. When do you want to come?
Well, here's the deal. I've got like 3 days of vacation, and my birthday's coming, like July-ish. So 1st of July. So July 2nd. So yeah, I'm going to hang out with my buddies, so it's going to have to be later than I thought. Yeah.
All right. Give me a sec here. I'm trying to find a story here that I wanted to talk to you about.
Well, Julie, your sister's birthday is on World UFO Day. There you go. If that ain't something to celebrate, I don't know what is. How could it be any more perfect? I don't know.
Where are we here? Sorry, buddy.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, seems to be so much news coming out right now. More whistleblowers coming forward all the time. It's awesome. But like I said, all the experiences are getting washed out of the mix here.
All right. There we're good. Okay, I got it here. That half hour flew by, man.
That was quick. It was good.
Yeah, your microphone sounds very muffled today.
Does it?
Yeah.
Is that better? Better?
No, it almost sounds like you're coming through your computer rather than your microphone.
Let me check the settings here in StreamYard. Yeah, it's on the right one here. Huh.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. Sound problems, I hate them. I've had some issues with the internet too today.
Bring your microphone up closer to your mouth. You're on mute. When you touched your microphone, it went on your mute. No, we can't hear you. When you touched your microphone, that's where it muted. There you go.
There we go. How about now?
Oh, now you're much better.
You like that deep, raspy voice?
Oh, now your sultry, dulcet tones are coming out. There we go. Yeah. Big thank you tonight to Deborah Rooney with a hat trick, Noble Patrick, Walter, Michelle, T-Bone, my man, Mark, and Mel WD40 with his lube chat. Really appreciate the love and support. Thank you very, very much. And don't forget, you got Sweet Robbie G this weekend on After Hours. We are going to be hanging on out with him and having some fun because he produces such a great show, even with his red chin hair and hatred for hockey. Here we go, everybody. We're into the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Extra small Lee Strauss of the Q&A continuing right after this, but first we want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. From Spaced Out Radio's Element 115, which can be heard every Friday night before this show on our YouTube channel, Lee Strauss is here for the Q&A. And Lee, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Absolutely, sir.
All right. Next big question. I know you're a big UFO guy, you know, even though you got some UAP boxer shorts on. You know,
What?
Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp release a video which looks like a giant disc floating over the clouds. Now, Jeremy Corbell is a very controversial figure in the UFO/UAP world. We know he was very connected. We know he has lots of sources in Washington, D.C., and especially one source that has been leaking him videos for the last number of years. And for a while, he had gone a little silent after the whole Immaculate Constellation saga at Congress. But all of a sudden, him and George Knapp break a story about a new UFO video, which literally sees a disc, a big flying disc, kind of moving through the storm clouds. And I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Okay, so I've watched all three videos. What you're looking at there, of course, is an infrared camera, right? And at times, when you look at this object, and they did describe it as a disc, by the way, but I think what we're looking at is more of a ball or an orb type object. During times in the video, notice where it lights up on the edges. And what that's showing us is actually there's heat in some way coming off of the object, not a reflection from the sun. So whatever that thing is, it is transferring heat in some manner. And it's not in the same places. It seems to like move around the object as it's floating through the clouds. So I'm not really sure what it's using for propulsion. I have no idea. It's obviously some sort of anti-gravity bubble of some sort, but we did see that. And what's interesting about that too, it's making me think about it as I'm discussing this here, but you notice how all the times that it does light up, it's all around the edge. How come we don't see? If that's the case, we should be able to see some fragmentation of heat on the surface, not just on the edges. So I don't know if that is some sort of a distortion or what it is that we're seeing around the exteriors, the outside rim of it. Now, the other thing that I noticed too, if it's a disc, why is it flat the whole time that it's being videoed? You know, flat side to us. So that doesn't make sense. So that's why I believe it is a bubble or an orb or something that's circular. Cannot tell, how large the object is at all. So we just have to go on what we see.
But it's just a typical government video that leaves more questions than answers. I'm glad all the videos have come out. I'm not saying all of them are UFOs. I think most of them are UAP instead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That being said, I do like when the videos come out, but they only give us a snippet of these videos. they don't give you anything that's going to make you a little bit excited about what this actually could be. Like you were just saying, the different angles, it looks flat. It looks like somebody's putting up like a black dot over the film and then dragging it across. I could see where a skeptic would maybe look at that as a plausible answer to what that video is. Now, I like George Knapp. I believe in George Knapp. Always have. His beard of knowledge is absolutely incredible when it comes to this field. And if he believes that his sources are giving him good video and he was able to vet it with what he usually does, then I'm going to buy that story because I think he's earned that type of respect, right? And I know I'm going to take some criticism for that, and I'm okay with that. But I like George Knapp. I really do. I mean, the guy doesn't become an award-winning journalist and stay at one station for that many years unless you're producing good work. And I think his credibility speaks for itself. Now, I also understand that with him, I'm going to assume, I have no proof on this, but I am going to assume that before he releases that video, that he has gone over it numerous times, because this was a George Knapp release as well as a Jeremy Corbell. Usually, when the videos have come out prior, it has always been Jeremy Corbell releasing the video. This one, George Knapp was very, very much involved with. So I would trust that George would actually try and vet that with at least 2 to 3 different sources to confirm the authenticity of the video. But I'm with you, man. I really wish that we could get something more than grain. I'm tired of grain.
Yeah. And Dave, you mentioned about the black streaking because it looked like there were some other orbs in the frames.
Yes, it did.
In the video. Those are camera aberrations. There's something on the lens that are causing those other dots because they stay stagnant whenever the camera's moving. Okay. So whatever that is, that's just whatever the artifacts that are on the lens of the camera. The actual orb itself, the big orb, looks like it's maybe the size of a golf ball on the actual screen that you're watching, right? So it comes across and it does a movement, like then it darts back through the clouds. And my thought was, well, maybe if it's a helicopter that's videoing this thing, could it be like a balloon of some sort that gets hit by rotor wash and does that little, twist as it goes through the clouds? But I don't know for sure, because generally speaking, if you're getting rotor wash, you'll see the clouds kind of flip up and, get like a twist to them a little bit. So I'm not sure what we're looking at here. It could definitely be an actual UFO, but that's just
I hope so.
Yeah,
I really do hope so. And you know what? I want to believe. I do. I want to believe. I know that's a famous saying within the UFO community, but I really want one of these videos to come out. And when we talk about the skeptics, before many of them have even done any research on it, they're already jumping. Oh, well, Jeremy Corbell's name is tied to it, so it must be BS. Jeremy Corbell is this, and if his name is tied to it, there's no way this video is real. You look at the octopus or the jellyfish one, you look at the orbs, you look at other ones that he has released, that could have been helicopters. Mick West's famous Boca video that Jeremy released, which are supposed to be black triangles way up in the sky. I mean, his credibility takes a lot of punches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think he does have a source. From what I have heard, Jeremy does have a source very deep within the Pentagon that is not even allowed to be giving him those videos, but is anyways. Now, I'm going on secondary information from sources. But this one, I like this video. I do. And I haven't heard a counter that makes sense yet.
Well, I'll say this. Beware of what's being released because they're holding back the good stuff.
True.
They're going to give us these videos that are going to make you question. Okay, well, what is it? Why are we seeing what we're seeing now? It's not definitive. We're not going to get the definitive video. We're going to get things like this that are questionable in many ways, where it's easy to try to poke holes in these things, right? So that's why they do what they're doing right now. It's because it's not the definitive answer.
Is there a definitive answer?
Well, yeah, there is. You were just saying, what about these shirts? You know, the shirts, I want to believe, or the posters that say, I want to believe. Well, there's millions of us out there that do believe and know. We know. So we don't need a shirt that says, I believe, because we know.
That's actually, I'm actually caught off guard by what you just said there because it's so simplistic yet so powerful at the same time.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've been through it. You have been through it. I've been through it. Millions of people that are listening right now have been through it. It's not a question for us. It's the people that want to rally around something and want to rally around this hope, right? But it's more than a hope because it's already here.
Here's a question from Jose. My wife and I once encountered small transparent bubbles with tiny colored lights in them attached to the wall. I passed my hand through them and sensed happiness. What do you think that was?
Oh, that sounds like a soul to me, for sure. You know, a quick story. My kids were at a church event and they were singing up on stage, and my mother was videoing this happen, right? But we didn't see it at the time. But when we got home and reviewing the footage, there was hundreds of these orbs moving around the kids and almost like they were interacting with the kids, and they seemed very happy. So when Joe says this, I'm sure that's what he is referring to, is the happiness. Maybe he was playing music, maybe him and his wife, you know, they were having a great time and they saw it, and it was just an orb interacting with them.
Mm-hmm. Are you big on the orb thing?
I've seen them in Reno when we were down there. We did our little thing. Yeah, I believe in them, absolutely. I you know, as far as orbs in the sky, the big orbs that are seen, I think those are just UFOs.
We got 7 minutes to go before we have to call it the night out here on Spaced Out Radio. Extra small Lee Strauss is here. We're talking about, well, pretty much anything and everything.
Yep, that's right.
Timothy Phillips, the former head of AARO, came out firing at Congressperson Anna Paulina Luna, who said we needed to fund AARO. We need to, what they're saying in the Wall Street Journal was absolute BS. She actually tweeted out the swear words on her X account regarding this. I'm wondering the angst and the anger about that. Do you think Congress is in a position to be making assumptions like that, or this, what I like to call the conspiracy club?
You know, there's different factions within the government. Some want that information out there, and others don't. And there's varying degrees, right? So Anna Paulina, she wants to defund AARO, right, and put it into the FBI's hands. as far as the search for UAP, UFO type stuff. So, well, good for her. If she can accomplish that and get everybody on board, great. We haven't heard from the FBI on any of that stuff, and it'd be nice to hear from somebody else, especially somebody that's not trying to submarine the whole thing and call it hogwash, because we're sick and tired of that.
We are. We're totally sick of it, and it's getting tiring with the absolute troubles that we see in the factions that we grow. Are we addressing the factions enough right now, Lee?
We aren't. We need to call people out on the mat, and if it takes calling somebody out on the mat on X or whatever the case may be, somebody that's trying to submarine the whole thing, we know who they are. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen people come out and say, well, it's just, just like in the New York Times recently. So we know who the individuals are that are trying to do it. We just need to get them away and out of the mix so that, disclosure can go through the way it should go through. And there's definitely some people on our side here. And I think anybody that's tied into the Pentagon is not on our side.
I would agree with you on that. I think that one is a good call.
Mm-hmm.
That one is a good call. The Pentagon is on our side when it comes to this. Why do you think then, if that is the case, why do you think so many are putting so much stock into it?
Well, because they are coming out with information. It's just a dribble. And a lot of the times it's meant to mislead us, I believe. They want to lead us astray. And we're never going to get the full answer. Of course we're not. What are we good for? We're just a number. We give part of what we make to the government, and then they do with what they want with the money. But I don't know the answer, Dave. I don't have the answer other than they just need to call people out on the mat and get rid of them. No more messing around. If you're not going to play ball, and then you need to just go somewhere else.
Where are the answers in your opinion, Lee?
I'd like to say they're with us, Dave. I would like to say they're with the thousands of people that are on here watching the show. Us that have had the experiences. Yes, of course, there's military people that have seen things as well. And for some reason, they're more credible. Well, they're more credible because they have time serving. There's plenty of us. There's plenty of firemen and police officers and even NASA astronauts too. I mean, we run the gamut just like anybody else. There are so many of us that have had these experiences. Like I've said before in other shows with you and everybody on here, it's going to take a village, but we just need to weed it out and get rid of the people that aren't playing the game. And frankly, it's been so long. We've been trying to do this for 80 years now, trying to get it out, and it keeps getting taken down, and it's completely unfair. It seems to me in the long run, if everybody knew what was actually happening, we would be better off for it.
It always comes down to whether or not humanity is ready. I mean, people who are experiencers or who love this topic will say that they are ready. I don't even know if I'm ready, but that's just me, because sometimes I can be a little bit Shaggy and Scooby. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's easy to talk tough on a microphone, but when you're actually put in that situation, it's a little intimidating, to say the least. if there is these big scary monsters in space coming down towards us, do we have a right to know? Should we know?
Yeah, we need to know. We need to know because it would make us congeal better as a people, I think. And we would stop seeing each other as nations, separate nations. I think we would end up seeing each other as fellow earthlings if we knew what was going on out there, and how many different species there already are out there, as far as, our government knows. If we knew that, I think it would make us so much more, what's the word? Just so much more of a people, of a one people, instead of so separate.
We have a very minute amount of time here, kind of getting on in, trying to figure this portion out of where we're going, where we're not. We can't expect too much coming up here, can we? 20-second answer.
I think we can expect a lot coming up, but I can tell you this, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to push it down as well.
Yeah, I'm hearing that as well, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we are hearing that as we speak. And Lee, thank you for a great show on the Q&A as we say goodnight to Lee. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brothers watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAF, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
don't make a mistake. We're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too, because we let Lee in the door, so you can come too. We'll be right back. All right. Give me 2 seconds, Lee. There we go. All right. Sweet Robbie G, are you doing a show right after this? Let me know, because I will end this one so people can hop on over to the dig and go from there. Oh, geez, Lee, I got you muted. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Just waiting to hear from the G-Man here.
I thought it was my breathing. I breathe awful heavy, so.
Oh, I breathe heavy, too.
I've kept plenty of ex-girlfriends awake with my heavy breathing.
Oh, my story. Maybe you need a CPAP, too.
Well, it's not that. It's just that this is a big schnoz, and there's a lot of air that goes through it at night. It sounds like a wind tunnel, apparently.
All right. What I want everybody to do in our chat room is we're going to end this stream so Sweet Robbie G can get into his room. And what I'd like you all to do is head on over there as Rob gets his late night call-in show. Go have some fun there. I like to tune in while I'm dozing off, and Rob does a great job at having some fun with the audience, talking about these topics that we love, and you can call in there. Thank you to T-Bone ×2, Deborah Rooney ×3, Noble Patrick, Mel, Mark, Michelle, and Walter for the super chats. And head on over to the Social Dig. Sweet Robbie G is right there. Lee, stick around for a minute, and we'll say goodnight to you. And Sweet Robbie G coming up here in minutes. Take care, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.